And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the FreshandFit Podcast. We're here with Derek for more plates, more dates, man. You guys have been asked for this one. It's a great episode.
Let's go.
Let's get into it, baby. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the special edition of FreshandFit Podcast on a Thursday. We're here with Derek for more plays, more dates, man. Guys, quick announcement, patreon.com/FreshFit. Check us out behind the scenes over there. Also, check us out on Spotify, Google, and our podcast, every single platform you guys listen to podcasts. We are there. Just make sure you wear headphones so you don't get canceled from your job and or fired, especially on this episode. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. Also, get the merch, FreshandFitPodcastStore.com. And then check out our other YouTube channel, FreshandFit Clips, guys, where we post the best parts of the show. So if you don't have time to watch the full podcast, check out the Clips channel. And then Fresh, you want to talk about your vlog channel real quick?
That's behind the scenes. Check out the vlog channel. 100K on the way. Let's go. We do live streams, lifestyle videos. And Tuesday was Swilly's birthday party. It was lit. So check it out on the vlog channel. Let's go.
And also, guys, check me out on Fed1811. On there, I break down criminal cases. And yeah, man, other than that, man, we got a special guest in the house, man. Without further ado,
legendary
Derek for more plates, more dates, man. Welcome to the show, bro. We're happy to have you here, man.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Long overdue, I feel like, for sure.
Yeah, they've been asking for you for a while, my friend. And I'll tell you, you are definitely probably in the top 3 to 5 guys that have been requested on the show. So we're really happy to have you on. And me and you have been talking now for the better part of a year. Just like, you know, with scheduling conflicts, you know, you're out there in Canada. And I know it's very tough to travel with all the restrictions.
Terrible.
You know, and last time you were here, I know you did your little press run and everything like that. And we weren't able to make it happen just so yet. But, you know, hell, we got some time doing the episode now. And don't worry, guys, he will come on after our show with some lovely ladies as well, man.
Viral
movie.
Yeah,
exactly. It's going to be lit. But, Derek, we know who you are, man. But for those that may not know who you are, can you introduce yourself to the audience real quick?
Yeah. So my name is Derek. I started a blog maybe like 6 years ago or 5 years ago at this point called moreplatesmoredates.com. And I basically published a lot of different articles on men's self-improvement, lifestyle, supplementation, bodybuilding, fitness. And it's sort of after I started to realize the trajectory of video format, social media, I sort of transitioned more to YouTube videos and kind of transitioned away from the writing, which was my bread and butter before. And the brand is sort of like stuck with me to date because I started it, you know, way back in my early 20s. I just kept the name. And so it's always been Derek from moreplatesmoredates.com. And now I kind of publish regularly on YouTube and whatnot. It's kind of transitioned a bit more to, I don't know, like pharmacology, biology, self-improvement still is a big focus of mine, though, with optimization of, you know, hormones, mental clarity, physical performance, but also kind of segmented myself more to the entrepreneurial stuff too, you know, financial success, how to set yourself up for a high quality life. So I think there's a lot of overlap with what you guys talk about, what I talk about for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So obviously you've been training for a while. Can you tell us a little bit about your bodybuilding journey? How you got involved with lifting weights? What was your inspiration and what, like, tell us about the journey.
Yeah, it was the classic kind of, I don't know. Well, actually, to be honest, when I first started, it wasn't about trying to get more chicks or anything. It was that one of my buddies, he lifted regularly and he was in pretty good shape, and he kind of just would bug me until I went to the gym. I played basketball and gaining muscle really wasn't a priority for me. And it kind of fucks with your 3-pointer when your muscle memory starts to, when you start bulking up and you gain like 50 pounds on your bench, all of a sudden your stroke is not the same as it once was. Absolutely. You have to like manually adjust that. So after I started working out, I got hooked by the progress. And I guess after that, as it started to transition more towards, I don't know, the actual bodybuilding stuff and not just like getting myself in the gym, a lot of it was probably driven through trying to, I don't know, create a an image that was, I don't know, whatever I deemed to be like the maxed out version of a physique that would be, you know, appealing to women. I would be confident with myself, etc. But it really started just off of, you know, my friend encouraging me to go in the gym, said I should gain some size. And yeah, it was kind of, I don't know, I think I was 17 or something when I first started lifting. So I've been training for, I don't know, over a decade now. Yeah.
That's dope.
So you're 28, 29 now?
Yeah, 29.
Yeah. I started lifting when I was 18, man. So I definitely, and I play basketball too. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because playing basketball is like kind of counterproductive to the whole anabolic process, because you're, you know, spending so much time running around, and, you know, it's very difficult to put yourself in a calorie surplus and or calorie maintenance to build the muscle mass. So definitely know what you mean by that.
Damn, bro, you're 29?
Yeah, what are you?
29 too, but we look totally different. God damn it. Should have started earlier.
So when did you start? So you start lifting weights. When did you start the YouTube channel?
I think my first video was March of 2016 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And you started with the title More Plates, More Dates. Was it because you realized, like, damn, okay, I'm getting way more chicks as I get more in shape now? What inspired that name?
No, it's when I was starting my blog, it was just a WordPress site, and I was looking for, I had friends in like the manosphere, red pill, self-improvement space, and they had catchy brand names. So one of my best friends, goodlookingloser.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's actually my business partner for Gorilla Mind. And
nice.
There was also Victor Pride at the time with boldanddetermined.com. There was Cernovich at dangerandplay.com. And there was other, you know, individuals who I don't know, they just had like brands that sounded catchy that weren't just their name.
So you've been around some OGs in the space for sure.
Yeah. So like I came up sort of on forums where I would kind of log self-improvement stuff, and I don't know, give advice to other guys when they would post a thread asking a question about their, you know, self-improvement endeavors and whatnot. And started there, you know, in my teens, and did it for a few years or something. And then it sort of transitioned into, after I felt like I got out of that space, I started posting online more, making my own content, and kind of just transitioned from there.
Where's Chris from Good Looking Loser now, man? I haven't seen him in a minute, bro.
Yeah, he's behind the scenes. He kind of wants to get back into content a bit because he found it fulfilling, and he thought it, you know, gave value to people, and he always enjoyed, you know, helping people out. But he's so busy. He has, I don't know, 5 or 6 different companies right now.
Nice.
We have overlap on 2 of them. We are co-owners of, and he is just he just had his first kid. He's married, and
he's out the game.
Yeah, I guess. So he's slammed, dude, as far as just business and just living his life right now. So I think he will return to content at some point, but occasionally I do like a yearly podcast with him. And that's sort of fallen off though, because it is sort of like a hassle for me to drag all my shit from Canada and set it up there. But I feel like I owe it to the OGs.
States, right? He's here in the States, right? He's not in Canada, is he?
Idaho.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh shit, Idaho in the middle of nowhere.
Idaho.
Yeah.
Only things there are hoes.
Fresh.
No. But
I know a hoe.
Speaking of podcasts, man, I seen you at a podcast with Dan Bilzerian. How was that, brother?
Oh, it was really good. Yeah, I think we clicked on like most areas we discussed. Like there was a lot of overlap from, you know, his goals from an entrepreneurship side of things right now. Obviously, a lot of the fitness and bodybuilding stuff he was super entrenched in as well. And I don't know, we just have like very aligned interests on fitness, entrepreneurship, dating to some extent. I think it was really interesting to hear his philosophies on that stuff. And yeah, it was just, I got to ask some unique questions that I don't think people who aren't necessarily in the same position as me could have really even known or cared to get that insight. Like I got to hear about very specifically, you know, his company's trajectory, you know, what he's looking to do with it, how he feels about, I don't know. It was just, for me, it was very insightful, and I don't know. I think we clicked, and it was one of my better podcasts, I think, for sure.
No, definitely. I tuned in, man, and you guys got into the details when it comes to like, you know, products. I'll just say products, and everything else like that, which is pretty neat. And the other thing too is that, a lot of people hate on Dan. And the thing is that, they always say, they hate us because they ain't us. I think he's like the embodiment of that fucking quote, bro.
They wish it could be in his spot.
Yeah, bro. A lot of guys wish that they could do what the fuck he does, where he's around taking pictures with a bunch of hoes, doing a bunch of crazy shit, smashing new girls all the time. But like, whether you like him or not, the guy is a fucking playboy and he's out here doing what he's got to do with these chicks. And hey, I respect it, man. And the other thing too is that he's very aware. Like he gets it that like, women are hypergamous. It is what it is. A small minority of the guys are getting a majority of the girls. Like, and it's crazy how like you see a guy at the top, like they know, like the guys that are getting girls like know this shit a lot of the time. But it's like, mainstream society doesn't want people to know this. They want people to think, girls are sugar and spice every night. So we could definitely, re-enter this part about the dating because I know we got a lot to talk about on that as well. I'll hit these chats real quick.
Yeah.
But I definitely think he's misunderstood and he gets like a lot of haters just because, they try to use what I've come to realize too also is that like the cool thing to do if you want to get a lot of clicks is like call someone a fake alpha male or like say like, oh, this cringe alpha male and then like make a video, a hit piece and it's going to get a bunch of views. Like that's like trigger words that get people to watch because people hate on something that they can never achieve or something that they're deficient in. Like one thing I've realized about haters is like 9 out of 10 times, you don't want to switch places with them. They want to switch places with you, but not the other way around. And the way that they're going to go ahead and try to, virtue signals to say, oh, well, you're a fake alpha or you're a fraud or whatever else. Cause your success of, getting the girls, having the money, etc., shines like a spotlight on their deficiencies. And I think Dan Bilzerian is like kind of a scapegoat where people just attack him all the time because they want to be him.
I think he's living the life. He doesn't give a shit what anyone has to say.
And that's how it's got to be.
So, hey, man, more power to you.
Yeah, man. But no, I saw that interview, bros. It was excellent.
Yeah,
no, I appreciate it.
City Boy $2. What's Derek's 2022 lay count so far?
It's up to you. I have a girlfriend right now, so
okay, there you go, my friends. He's in a relationship.
All right.
Jim 121, you have been summoned to the podcast. Okay, and then we got Ray goes to be TB MD was a dating channel. Gorilla Mind is huge. Okay,
Erno Harvoff.
Yeah, he goes. Always knew Derek belongs to the manosphere, but for others, this is like broadly becoming canon to main Dragon Ball timeline.
Hey,
okay?
Dragon Ball Z.
69 Doug goes, my fitness goal is to be more swole than Fresh BBC. Okay.
What the
And then
pause.
Troll Village Citizen goes, hey Derek, love your hair vids. Please help our balding brother Myron with his sunroof. He keeps upgrading camera quality and forcing us to view his scalp. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to, I'll make the fucking announcement. Guys, I'm going to do the hair restoration stuff. So don't worry.
You said it on air.
Yes, I will be doing it.
How dare you?
Yeah, so I will be not bald very soon.
Dude, let us set you up with finasteride from my telemedicine platform and then minoxidil. And we're actually releasing ketoconazole shampoo, which is a hair loss prevention shampoo. I'll just send you everything. So let me know after the show. I
was using minoxidil and I was using finasteride for a while too, but bro, it worked for me for a bit back in like 2016. But now it's like, man, it does. It's still. I
think he's losing hair from the girl.
Are you on it right now, or did you cycle off of it?
So I cycled off of it. But when I was on it, it didn't do anything. Like back in 2016, when I started getting the hair loss, I was using it religiously. I was rubbing in the minoxidil and taking the finasteride, and then it was working. I got my hair back. And then the past like year or two, like probably within the last like year, it like I went back on it, but it didn't like do anything like it did back in 2016.
There are things that we can do that will get it back. So things like microneedling, adding tretinoin to your minoxidil. You might be a non-responder to minoxidil. I think about 30 to 40%, maybe even more than that of the population are non-responders because they lack enough of something called a sulfotransferase enzyme activity in the scalp. Basically, it converts minoxidil to active minoxidil sulfate in the scalp. And if you're low in this enzymatic activity, you don't get the actual activity at all, even though you're literally applying it to your head. So there are things you can do to turn yourself from a non-responder to a responder and actually get the results of somebody who responds well. And then there are things that are more intense than finasteride, like dutasteride, that are more impactful that we could discuss too. No, for sure. We definitely can. The only thing I hated about the finasteride was, this is going to be funny. When you bust nuts, it's not as strong. It's like weird. And you're like, sex drive gets killed a little bit.
Oh, for real? Wait, sperm count?
What?
It lowers your sperm count?
It doesn't lower your sperm count. It's just that when you bust your nut, it's not as like strong, like less semen comes out. Pause.
That's good, bro. Less kids.
That's true too. It's a good thing, kind of. But no, sorry, you were saying something there?
No, I was gonna make a shameless plug for Lock and Load, which is our load enhancing formula from Gorilla Mind. Make you shoot ropes, bro.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Chris excited.
Niggas trying to avoid kids right now.
Yeah, man. And then we got Lord of Delts. Why was Gorilla Mind Rush continued? And that's from Fred Ward. You want to answer that, Derek? Or
yeah, it's just like over the years, certain ingredients get more scrutiny.
Yeah,
from the FDA. So it's not like it's illegal. It's just like over time, it becomes too much of a liability to have a product that has ingredients in it that the FDA might come down on at some point. So to be mindful of the longevity of your business, it's better to get ahead of it before the FDA comes down on like a high risk ingredient where they like show up at your warehouse or something and seize it because they don't like it versus you just have the, proactive foresight to get rid of it before it becomes a problem.
Smart. Yeah. That's smart. You're getting ahead of it because you never know what might happen. They can just regulate it and then it becomes a pain in the ass. Yeah. CM Punk, $20. So Big Mo, do you really believe that you are the best in the world? I challenge you for the AEW championship and we'll see who's the best in the world. Okay, CM Punk. And then we got here $5 from Jim. Derek, are you in touch with any other RPOGs that have fallen out of the limelight? He just gave you guys some of them right now.
Yep.
MPMD, can you really grow your glizzy with it? Is the stretch machine still the best machine to grow your smet? Ever heard of pneumonia? Penuma?
Bruv.
Okay,
what are you saying, bro?
We're gonna move on. How long should I stay on Clen? I'm doing a 2-week cycle. Should I come off and come back on or keep going till my weight loss goal? Carlos R. This fucking guy, bro.
You want me to answer that?
You can if you want. And guys, before we do this, hey, man, this is not medical advice. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just going to give maybe an opinion on something. And, yeah, at your own risk, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Clen, there's like a myth that has pervaded the industry that after 2 weeks, you need to cycle off for 2 weeks and then you cycle back on to keep your receptors sensitive. And in reality, it seems to be that it continues to work and increase your resting energy expenditure regardless. So I would not be cycling on and off of it personally. I would just be using whatever dose you can tolerate at the minimum effective dose and just like ride it out. Not a healthy drug though. Wouldn't really advise, using it long term or anything.
It's a powerful fat burner if I'm not mistaken. Clenbuterol, right?
Yeah, like cranks your resting heart rate up and just makes you jittery as fuck. So your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, increases. Like it's sitting at the podcast table right now, your hand would be like, and you'd be burning more calories just by being a twitchy motherfucker, essentially.
Yeah, it's a very strong. Isn't it like used in like horse tranquilizer as an ingredient? Something like that?
No, you're probably thinking of there's like this Venti Plumen pump that they give to horses, I believe. Mm-hmm. That's like the pharmaceutical grade Clen, and some guys they will buy like vet grade Clenbuterol. It's just like a giant like fucking syrup container, and they squirt it in their mouth.
What?
And yeah, it's not a tranquilizer though.
Okay, that's probably what. Because I knew there was something to do with horse. See, I'm lifetime natty, so I don't. Yeah. I'm aware somewhat of. Not that it's bragging, I'm not that. People, I'm like, bro, I'm 200 pounds, 6'3". Like this isn't like anything crazy. Like I'm 100% natty, guys. But it's always interested me to like see the other side, with the Clen, and obviously Clen's a very powerful fat burner.
Yeah, you're a natty, bro.
Yeah,
Mo's a fatty.
Thank you, Chris. What the fuck was that?
I was trying to rhyme. Never mind.
Yeah, that was bad. This is why you can't be a rapper, bro.
I know, terrible.
Okay, so where we? Okay, so you were also on Rogan recently too, Derek. Can you tell us about that, man? That must have been lit.
Yeah. So I went to Texas in December, and it was a great experience. Like it was pretty much exactly what he's like on his podcast is what he's like off camera, on camera, and great conversationalist, really brings out the best in people, I think. And I don't know, it's just like shooting the shit with one of your boys, honestly. Like I thought he was going to talk to me about pharmaceuticals and blood work and shit the entire time, but like 2/3 of the time we just talked about random stuff. So it was fun. Yeah.
What made you start podcasting, bro?
Podcasting? I don't know. A bunch of people just asked me to do it, and I hadn't done any for my first 3 years on YouTube or something. And then eventually I just had enough requests. I was like, oh, I should probably get into this because, you know, people are doing it, and long form is a pretty good way to articulate your thoughts more so than, and people can definitely resonate more with you, relate to you in different aspects that they might not otherwise. And I don't know, I just kind of like picked and choose which ones asked me to do it and did certain ones. And I haven't done a lot, but I mean, I just got into it because it seemed like a good opportunity.
Okay.
And I'll say this because, you know, I've watched your videos for years, man, and you're probably one of the best, if not the best person at breaking down, natty or not, or basically being able to predict, hey, more than likely this is what this guy is using to achieve that look, etc. Like, what inspired you to get in? Because it's a very I don't think there's anyone else on YouTube that does it to your degree. I know Greg Doucette does it to a level where it's a little bit more how do I say this? It's a little bit more like in your face, right? He's a little bit more loud and crazy about it. You know, you're very calm and collected about it. So it's like two different ends of the spectrum. But like, what made you get into that?
So it's one of those topics where you often find yourself just asking your buddies anyways. Like if you're watching a UFC fight, or I don't know, you see some extreme physique and you're just like, oh, you think that guy's natty? And you just talk about it. And it's a very commonly discussed subject. And I would often get DMs, messages, comments like, Derek, what do you think of this? What do you think about that? And I was like, so many people have asked me at this point, I might as well just make a video. And then if somebody wants to know my opinion, they just go watch the video rather than me tell them in private what my thoughts are every single time. Yeah. Because that's just impossible at a certain point. And, I made a couple of videos on it, and then they got a lot of traction and people seem to really like them. So, you get positive feedback. A lot of people have been asking you. It's more time efficient because you don't have to answer a bunch of people separately. It was just like a win-win-win all around. And it's something that most people are talking about in private anyways. So for me, I'm just like putting my opinion out there, talking to my audience as if like we're just bros talking on the couch, watching like a fucking fight or whatever it is. And just putting it out at scale, I guess. And then answering anybody who wanted to know the answers question in one shot, so to speak.
And I remember because I'm a little bit older. I'm 32. So and I'm sure you're going to remember this era too. Like, the Zyzz era, right? From the late 2010s, I would say up until 2015, 2016. Like, it was very frowned upon to disclose if you were natty or not. So most guys claim natty even if they weren't. And there was like a fucking witch hunt on YouTube where people were trying to figure out, yo, is this guy natty? Is this guy natty? And there weren't any channels really that were able to like, that people would like kind of presume, but no one really would be able to like boil it down as to this is why I think so. These are the drugs that he's probably on, et cetera, et cetera. And you were able to, kind of outline it in a very articulate fashion. And you did it in a very unbiased way. Like, listen, I think this is what it is. I could be wrong, whatever it may be. So what was your most controversial breakdown?
Shit. That's tough, dude, to think off the top of my head. Like, that's a great question, but I really... Like, as far as like actual,
give us your top three, or you can give us your top three that were like, holy shit, this got a lot bigger than I thought it would.
Like, when you say controversial, do you mean like the response from the audience was volatile, or like the individual? Like, I'm just trying to define exactly. Like, I did
either or whether it was from the creator himself getting mad, or it was from or the person, or your audience like responded to it and a crazy, like, gave you crazy engagement.
I think I did one on Michael B. Jordan years ago, and this was before I had any big following on social media. And I think my response at the time was that I actually don't remember what my conclusion was. I think it was that he was natural for one of his roles, and then I had like a 50% dislike ratio on that video. And I think it was just the way I talked about his physique, because I had a very jaded fitness industry perspective on like what is good. At the time, and I was like very not flexible in acknowledging that his physique was like exceptional and it was a top 0.01% physique. But for the fitness industry, you get these fucked up perspectives of things because you're so used to seeing literal bodybuilders and fitness models all the time that you see a guy who just has abs and you're like, oh wow, that guy's like out of shape or something. Which is absurd, obviously. But that one was like a pretty bad response. I don't know, the Rock ones get like a lot of traction in both, like, I think everyone kind of knows the answer to that too. So I guess it's kind of like not that controversial, but
Yeah.
they definitely pick up a lot of steam.
What about the one with Andrew Tate?
Oh yeah, that one. He
He
fucked himself over by showing that blood test, because he thought it was proving that he was natural, but it kind of, even if he is, I think my conclusion was that I actually do think he is natural, but his blood test definitely did not work in his favor. So he ended up getting a blood test the day after, or at least that's what he told me. And I don't know when those results are coming back, if they're coming back, or what's going on with that. I'm sure he has, other priorities over that. But yeah, at the time it was, I don't know, his blood work didn't really reinforce the story he was trying to tell, essentially.
Yeah, see, I don't even know how to, like, the blood work stuff is. I mean, but that does make, obviously you can tell if someone's natty by their blood work. That's going to tell you.
Let me ask you this, because I'm not in the fitness industry, right? My thing is, screw you, bro. Shocking. But my thing is, does it matter if someone's natty or not? I mean, is their body, right? They could.
No, for sure. And here again, it's much more open now. Like, guys are being honest about it now because it's like there's just so much information out there. But back like 10 years ago, it was like a travesty to admit if you were natty, because you would lose sponsorships, you would lose clothing deals, brand deals. So a lot of guys just like kept their mouth shut about it. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to Andrew Tate. That's our fucking guy. That's our bro. So,
legendary.
Yeah, that's a good friend of ours.
Okay.
But what were you gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say I'm natty.
Nigga, bro.
Also fatty too.
Yeah, this is true. What was I gonna say? Okay, so the Michael B. Jordan one. So I was gonna ask you this: when it comes to movie roles, because I don't think people understand, and I've talked about this before on other pods, but we have an expert in the room. Tell us what a typical movie star is going through to look the part for a superhero role, etc.
So in general, a lot of those guys don't look like that year round. So they usually have to do something a bit more drastic, because you could get away with a lot less and not do such a dramatic, aggressive transformation phase if you actually cared about that sort of thing year long. But what you see in general is these guys will, get relatively out of shape when they're not preparing for a movie, and then they have to dial it in within like 3 to 6 months in some condensed time frame.
Yeah.
So in general, doing that in the time frame needed is the thing that is usually imposes stipulations on them where they have to introduce drugs or some sort of extreme measures to get there. So crash dieting, introducing hormones to preserve muscle while they're crash dieting, or to try and build muscle at the same time when they are also crash dieting. Like the shit they do is like all over the map, suboptimal as hell in most cases. And then when they do the role, you can tell that their diet that they did to get there was so condensed and so not representative of what they normally do, because then they typically rebound to some like body composition that looks not even close to their movie within 6 to 8 weeks sort of thing.
Yep.
There are certain guys that kind of do embody that sort of, do care about that stuff year round. Like Chris Hemsworth, I think, is a great example of a guy who actually like gives a shit about staying in shape, and
very true. Also
has good genetics though, to, which also helps for sure. But he kind of like, will blast a certain amount, is, I speculate, to kind of gain the muscle to be Thor, for example. And then he'll kind of like shrink back down and presumably go to like, testosterone replacement or something when he's not doing the roles. But there are certain individuals like, I don't know, Alexander Skarsgård, who did Tarzan, and then he did this other movie recently. It was like, I forget what it's called, but and it's funny. I think his publicist, they emailed me and wanted me to do a podcast with the trainer that prepared him, and I'm like, do these people not know that this is one of the same trainers that I've like roasted in the past video? I was like, I don't think. And then I got an email after I said, sure, I'll do it. And they were like, actually, we thought about it again, and we don't think we can do it. So, I don't know if they checked my shit after. But
so I'll say this real quick. Let's kill the Twitch and the Twitter stream real fast, Chris. And guys, come on over to YouTube. Type in Fresh and Fit on YouTube, because I'm going to ask him a question now that might get mad. Twitch might get mad at, and Twitter. And of course, guys, we're not endorsing the use of any type of performance enhancing drugs. This is about giving you all the truth as far as like what's going on in the movie and fitness industry. Because, a lot of these guys are going to sell a certain type of physique or whatever it may be, telling you, oh, this is what I did to do it, when in reality, they were using some kind of PEDs. So what would you say is the basic superhero stack? If someone needs to get in shape for a role, whether it's Batman to Thor to Spider-Man to whatever it may be, what is the basic superhero stack for movies?
I think in general, most celebrities are going to be using stuff they can get prescribed legally that they can travel with and is human approved, has like enough evidence in humans that it's, the safest thing they could be doing and the most well understood. So in general, that would be replacing their testosterone at minimum and then pushing that dose up accordingly based on whatever their genetics dictate they need to push it to, or whatever condensed time frame they have, whatever it is. I would imagine growth hormone is typically on the table as well. And then maybe things like, DECA, nandrolone, decanoate is something that's typically stacked alongside. You can get pharmaceutical grade. In general, I think that is probably like some of the main compounds that are deployed because they have the most evidence of their safety in humans. They're the most well understood. You can get them pharmaceutical grade prescribed by a doctor, travel with it, blah, 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 versus if you got like underground lab Tren or something, it's
huge liability.
Yes.
And it's not safe.
Compound, can't, fly with it easily. Like imagine, I don't know, to be honest, like I've never tried to fly with underground illegal gear, but I imagine if you're a celebrity, like, I don't know, maybe you're
Sylvester Stallone, a Dwayne Rock Johnson, you're going to have pharmaceutical shit that has your name on it, prescribed. Yeah. You could travel with it, not have any issues because, how terrible would it be from like just a public image standpoint if The Rock got stopped at LAX with illegal steroids? You know what I mean? Right. It would be bad. Yeah. So I could definitely see where you're going with that it would need to fit these prerequisites.
So they get a hall pass basically.
Yeah, but they're getting it through a doctor, so it's prescribed. So it's they can pretty much get caught with it, and it's not going to cause an issue.
Yeah,
so
the doctors will like fudge the prescriptions to if they're flexible enough. Like you can technically, even if you don't actually need it, like you probably don't need 300 milligrams of pharmaceutical testosterone to replace your test.
Yep.
But they'll often get a prescription for it because it helps them, achieve their physique goals versus, a standard 150 or something.
So real quick, me and you know what these terms are, but I know a lot of the audience may not necessarily know what you just said. So could we just go real quick? Because that stack you just mentioned is pretty much like what a lot of people are going to be using, whether it's preparing for a movie role, maybe stepping on a stage with a few other compounds. So first you mentioned testosterone, which is testosterone replacement therapy. Testosterone replacement therapy, right? Yeah, TRT. And then you went into DECA, and then you went into GH. Can we just define which each one does, and then what like the benefit, just so the audience kind of knows?
Yeah. So obviously, a disclaimer: this is like not medical advice or a suggestion for even using this stuff. Sure. But testosterone is like what your body naturally endogenously produces. So that hormone is basically what dictates how much muscle building potential you have. So whatever your natural amount is, if you increase it in a dose-dependent manner to some extent, you're going to be able to build more strength and muscle tissue. There is a diminishing returns effect with it as you get really high, but in general, like as you escalate, let's just say your baseline total testosterone level is 700 nanograms per deciliter in your blood work. If you take enough testosterone to get that up to 2,000 or 3,000 nanograms per deciliter, regardless of how many hundreds of milligrams you're taking, there's some sort of like escalating performance enhancing advantage to be had from that.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's typically deferred to as the main compound is because it's your body literally knows exactly what to do with it. It is what it normally produces. And it's very predictable what the outcome is from a side effect context, from a cardiovascular disease context, even like you don't want to be taking some random shit that your body does not convert into the proper metabolites to support brain health, heart health, etc. Like if you take Tren on its own, for example, you're going to crush your estrogen levels, which will then cause neurodegeneration, progress your heart disease faster, this and that. So testosterone is like what your body knows exactly what to do with.
Bam.
And it's the most logical thing and predictable thing to raise to achieve, muscle growth outcomes. But
it's the cornerstone of any stack, essentially, right?
Yeah, in general, when you hear guys talk about gear, they'll be like, make sure you have a test base.
Yeah.
And that's like, your base testosterone, which, to be honest, you don't need other shit necessarily. Testosterone in itself is like very, very anabolic and will build more muscle than most people need anyways. It's just sometimes at a certain level, maybe you get side effects from it that cause, you know, hair loss or this or that. And then maybe you look at something that's more anabolic, like a nandrolone, to stack alongside it that has certain properties chemically modified that are not present like they are with this broad spectrum testosterone that causes every effect in the body. So sometimes the lack of effects are also the desired outcome and vice versa. So like with nandrolone, DECA, if you introduced it, you know, you're looking at something that's a bit more hair safe. You're looking at something that has been used clinically. It was designed to be used in like women and children, like for androgen sensitive individuals who can't use testosterone, because testosterone is literally turns you into a dude. So if you give test to a chick, you can expect that she's going to get masculinized like really fucking quickly. So a lot of these compounds that were designed after testosterone, they were chemically modified in order to be less masculinizing. That was like the intended purpose. And all of these pharmaceutical companies were trying to design the perfect compound that lacked any of this like masculinization characteristics with it. And then you ended up with this laundry list of different compounds like nandrolone, winstrol, trenbolone, all of these different things.
Anavar.
Yeah, and they all have like slightly different effects in the body. But DECA in general is like one of the most studied compounds. It is a slight modification from testosterone and is not everyone can use it and respond well. You know, you have to kind of understand what your needs are, what your side effect propensity is in different kind of areas before you know if like DECA is something you should be utilizing. But it's something that is, you know, pretty good for joint integrity, especially. People find like a lubricating effect, and it gives them like, I don't know, it's easier to stave off injury a little bit when you're using it. It was very popular with pitchers in the MLB.
Because the testosterone is going to have you being stronger. So you're going to be lifting higher loads. So like, you know, obviously you want to be able to make sure that your joints are in optimal situation to push those loads. So I can see why the DECA is definitely another compound used in the study.
What about Dianabol?
That is a oral compound that was used heavily in the 70s by guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it works. It's just like really water retentive, liver toxic as well. So it's not really, if you were to ask somebody, you know, for my test base of a cycle, should I be using testosterone or Dianabol? One of them causes liver stress and can only be run for an acute time frame before you start to undergo so much organ stress you have to discontinue it. And it's going to crush your appetite because your liver is so stressed while you're using it, which is counterproductive to growth, because if you can't eat enough, you're not going to grow. Whereas testosterone is bioidentical, you know, does all the functions you need of it. Like Dianabol has its place, but it is a pretty side effect ridden compound that it's not like a sustainable thing to run for a full like off season trying to gain muscle phase. So you would never see a actor using DBOL as like their main go-to compound in general. You're also not going to get it prescribed by a doctor ever.
Okay. So we broke down test, DECA, and then Dianabol as well, and then GH, growth hormone.
Yeah, so GH has unique properties from like a lipolytic aspect. So by that, I mean its ability to free up fatty acids into circulation to then be burned. So you can technically burn more fat when you're using it. It's also, unlike anabolic steroids, something that reinforces the structural integrity of connective tissue, joints, ligaments, etc. So it's going to help you stave off injury as well. It also has a proliferative component where it could hypothetically cause something called hyperplasia, which is like muscle cell splitting. So with anabolic steroids, you can hypertrophy a muscle cell, like you can make it bigger, but you can't really, it does not increase growth factors in your body that are there to cause proliferation and like splitting of cells to create new cells. So GH is something that contributes to enhancing your pool of satellite cells, which will then ideally be used to create more muscle cells that you can induce hypertrophy in. So you're sort of like raising your potential with GH to some extent, creating more cells you could then hypertrophy with anabolic steroids is the idea of why a lot of bodybuilders use it. And if it actually plays out like that in practical application, once you're a full-grown adult, it's kind of up in the air, but it is a staple compound in a lot of regimens. It seems people like the anti-aging component because it seems to make your skin look a bit better, hair quality, etc. But at the same time, you're sort of like burning the candle at both ends a little bit, because the more you push growth, the shorter your time span on Earth essentially is, unfortunately. So like bigger humans always die faster. So the more you push like satellite cell growth, potentially cancer cell development simultaneously is also a risk factor when it comes to GH use. Even though you're getting these, cosmetic effects that you deem to be anti-aging, you're technically aging yourself at an accelerated rate when you use GH too.
And I want to say this too real quick, because you said something really important there that I don't know if the audience caught it. Because I've been saying this for years, that growth hormone, even though it's in the name, actually isn't really anabolic in itself.
Yeah.
And
no, you can see studies where they use like 20 IUs of pharma grade GH and see no muscle growth.
Yeah. And I've been saying that forever, and people think I'm crazy when I say, listen, HGH is not necessarily anabolic. And they're like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Growth is in the name. And it's like, no, man, it has other effects which may promote it, but it's not necessarily anabolic in itself, which I think that's very important for people to know, which is why it's never, it's always a part of a stack and not like the cornerstone, like a testosterone or something else like that. But I didn't know Dianabol can be used as a test, replacement essentially. But I guess it seems like it's a little bit outdated nowadays.
Yeah. Like anything that converts to estrogen, you could hypothetically use in place of testosterone. Like testosterone and DBOL, it's kind of like the testosterone molecule was tweaked to create Dianabol in the first place. Whereas things like nandrolone, this was tweaked from testosterone as well, but it has a different like baseline chemical structure to make things like trenbolone, things like other 19-nortestosterone derivatives. But Dianabol falls into that class that does convert to estrogen. So technically you could use it and replace it as your test base. It's just not a sustainable option because
of liver issues.
Yeah. Like you're never going to stay on like an oral steroid for years or even months. Ideally, you would not be doing either.
It's funny. I was offered Dianabol in Barbados. I used to work out, bro. Okay, question, right? Let's say you're an average dude getting into the gym, right? Let's say you might want to take steroids later on. When should you start, if you should do it at all? Like, what point should I work out first, get like a foundation first before I take it, or should I take it like right away? What's your thoughts on that, Derek?
So when should you cross over into the dark side is this question?
Yeah, basically in a nutshell.
I mean, he is dark.
I'm already dark though, but screw it.
In the bodybuilding world, we call it cross over to the dark side to starting to use gear.
Yeah.
But
it's not like there's ever a threshold where you should use it. I don't want anyone to misconstrue me answering this question. It's like at this point you start gear. Like you should not ever like 100% start gear.
We're not endorsing steroids, guys. We're just educating you on it, okay?
So if you're somebody who's dead set on it anyways, regardless of what anybody says, basically you have at least a few years of natural potential in your tank, likely unless you're 40, 50 plus and your testosterone levels are so low that you need TRT or something. Like that's a different scenario. Let's talk about a young guy who has like normal levels and is just trying to figure out if he should or shouldn't in general.
Yeah.
If you have perfect diet and training, which most people don't, like when you first start, most people have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They're kind of just, going in the gym, moving shit around, haven't figured out how to program correctly, don't understand anything above and beyond, like hitting their macronutrients with their protein. They don't know anything about micronutrient intake. They don't know anything about their gut health. They don't know anything about sleep hygiene. They go in for a testosterone test and they see a 200 total and they think I need TRT, when in reality their sleep's just fucked up and they're addicted to stimulants. Like this stuff is super, super common. And dialing that stuff all in before you go to anabolics, like obviously very, very prudent and warranted in my opinion, but above and beyond that, being well researched and thoroughly understanding what this stuff does. Like all the shit I've said that sounded all complicated and like fucked up. Yeah. If you don't understand what I just said from start to now of this podcast, like you probably shouldn't be doing it yet.
Good point. Fantastic fucking point, bro. Yeah. and I mean, I'll what I've always said, because I'm lifetime natty, and this type of talk does fascinate me because it's another world that I haven't necessarily crossed into. But what I've always told guys is be natty as long as you possibly can. 5 to 10 years of natural training so that you can learn the rudimentary habits on how to train correctly, how to eat properly, how to live a proper lifestyle, how to get your sleep dialed and everything else like that. Because once you're able to perfect that, then you're in a position where you can actually optimize the use of gear, because the gear is only going to work if you do. A lot of guys think I'm just going to jump on drugs and build a great physique. Not really. You're still going to have the rudimentary basics down, which I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like when guys are on drugs, it's not that they're necessarily cheating. All it does is allows them to train harder, train more frequently, train at a higher pace and then be able to recover faster. So they were able to go back in the gym and stimulate more and more. I remember when like watching Pump and Iron and watching Arnold and Frank Zane, all these guys train, they'll go to the gym for hours at a time. And they were able to do that because they were using the gear. So, I mean, what's your take on that, Derek, please?
No, yeah, that is, one point I do want to add where you said, you shouldn't be using it unless, you know what you're doing, et cetera. Like for me, a lot of it too is the systemic stress of using this stuff taxes your organs. So you only have so much exposure to these compounds that you can even have before you end up in a degraded state of health. Because again, these things there's responsible ways to do it that are safer, but it's not safe in any capacity when you are going above, therapeutic replacement levels. So and this is a note that usually hits harder for guys who are trying to decide if they should use it or not, because they're so ready to get on it. You only have so many exposures in the tank before your organs are degraded to a point that you can't even use the shit because it's too dangerous or you might kill yourself. So if you have a certain amount of systemic exposure to these drugs that you can actually get away with, do you really want like cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3 to be before you understood how it worked and to deteriorate like heart function, kidney health, etc., for suboptimal progress? Or would you rather wait until you literally knew the best way to approach it with the minimum effective dose, the safest possible protocols, and then maximize your progress when you put your body in a state of stress like this? So a lot of guys, I think, jump on, me included, when I was really young and started this shit. And there's a lot of the inspiration as to why I make this stuff is I wish content existed back then that explained this kind of stuff, because I could have saved myself multiple blast phases of this shit where I had suboptimal progress because I didn't know what I was doing. So, yeah.
And man, that was so I mean, we need to clip that and send it out to every fucking young guy out there, because so many guys think I'm just going to use the gear, I'm going to get the body, whatever it is, and they don't understand the rudimentary basics, and they don't understand the potential consequences that can come from a health standpoint. And honestly, guys, if you're just a regular guy trying to look good on a beach and get some hoes, bro, you could do it naturally, guys. Yeah, it might take a little bit longer. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. Yeah, you got to be patient. But unless you're going to compete or you're making a living off of your body, it's really not in your best interest, man. And Derek, you summed it up there perfectly, man. Like, know what the fuck you're doing, because at least when you figure out what the fuck you're doing, then you can make a conscious and educated decision on, do you want to step into this realm? And for me, after figuring out my body, training, everything else like that, I was like, you know what? No, I'm not ready to make this jump. I've thought about it. Don't get it twisted, guys. I've always thought, man, I can get some more round on my delts and increase my bicep size. They're fucking pathetic because those are my lagging parts. But I was like, you know what? I'm not prepared to deal with the consequences of this. And I said no. And I want everybody to be able at least to be in that position where you can make a conscious decision knowing all the factors to some degree.
Well, I'll tell you what happened to my buddy that took it. I didn't take it. So we're both going to the same school. He's in the gym. He's like, yo, bro, come gym with me. I'm going to gym with him a little bit. And I'm like, okay, cool. This taking forever. He's like, bro, my buddy told me about this Dianabol. Let's take it. Mind you, I don't know shit about training or these steroids, whatever. So he's like, yo, take it. I'm like, bro, I'm scared. I'm not going to do it. He took it for like a couple months, cycled off. He was definitely like bigger, a lot bigger than he was before. Mm-hmm. Definitely like huge. I give it like maybe like 3 months later, he was just like fat. I don't know what happened to like him as the individual, but he just like a lot of water weight.
Well, Derek said it right there. And, you retain water like crazy, right? With the Dianabol?
He was skinny, went to buff to like watery, like fat. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, and Derek will just, it's one of the side effects is you retain a fuck ton of water.
Damn.
But also, if you don't know what you're doing before you do this stuff and you crash your hormones, how much muscle that you gain do you lose after? Yeah. And then you're in a state of like demotivation because not only are you seeing your progress go away, but in addition to that, your hormones are crashed. So trying to retain what you've gained because your post-cycle therapy was not in place, or you just did a stupid cycle and crashed your system.
Wow.
It's very easy to end up in a compromised state where you end up with gynecomastia, or you just end up, losing it all because you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah. So hold on real quick. So Derek, there's a viral video going around with our boy Bandman Kevo, and he literally got a liposuction surgery to kind of like remove the fat around his stomach and around his chest. What's your take on that? Should guys do that as an option if they got the money, or should just work naturally, you think, to get that progress?
Well, I think you should try because again, if you've got that body composition to begin with where you're out of shape, it's representative of your health. So even if you get liposuction to make your cosmetic appearance look a certain way, the reflective internal stress of your current diet model is still there, presumably. So if you're insulin resistant, you have, I don't know, fucked up biomarkers on your blood work, like those don't disappear after liposuction. So like whatever your exterior is showing is a representation of what you're doing on the inside too. So yeah, from like a chick's and like cosmetic perspective, maybe you can get like an instant boost because you don't want to fucking train as hard and don't want to diet as hard, but it's still going to bite you in the end from a health standpoint. So in general, I think if you have stubborn fat and it's like genetic where you have to diet to some degree where it lowers your natural testosterone levels to a point that's actually impactful of your quality of life. Yeah, maybe look at liposuction. But I think most people should dial in their diet and their training and their sleep hygiene, see where it gets them, and then look at that stuff if they have, like if you have some people just have like genetically, you know, a weird body part that just does not respond that well. And they need to get so lean that maybe their testosterone levels go to, you know, suboptimal and they feel like shit to maintain that body composition. That guy, I think it makes sense for. But for somebody who wants to like maintain their shitty diet, not a good idea.
Agreed. You want to max out lifestyle optimization before you start getting into, you know, invasive, procedures. I would say. Okay. Is really what it comes down.
No, it's like a lot of dudes who think they need face surgery too, in like the male self-improvement space. They're like, oh, I'm not attractive enough to get chicks. It's like, have you ever actually gotten in shape? Like, let's see. Like, what's your face even look like, bro? Like, might be good, but you're fat. So be not fat. Too.
Yo, Chris, you know what you need to do, right, bro?
Yeah, facts, right?
What the I don't know what the fuck y'all niggas talking about, bro. But okay, so if you want to answer this, it's up to you. And guys, from this point forward, we're gonna read 20 and up super chats because before I ask this question, and then Tren, because I already know people are gonna want to know. Can you tell people what Tren is and what it does?
So Trenbolone was a drug made in France, I believe in the 80s, and it was designed for women with muscle wasting, I believe. Could be wrong on the exact application, but it was prescribed to women. And the compound is very, very potent it retains no water. It's very potent at not only building muscle, but it's like also one of the best anti-catabolic compounds. And by catabolic, it's like, I'm sure you guys know what anabolic is, like building muscle. Catabolic is like the process of like burning and losing muscle. So a lot of guys, the reason why Tren is so good in like a contest preparation phase for bodybuilders and stuff like that is when you're dieting aggressively, it becomes very easy to lose muscle mass. Like your hard-earned muscle, when you're in a deficit, does not want to stay on your body. So when you're super catabolic, this is one of the agents that preserves that tissue and keeps it on your body to a greater extent than other compounds. It has interactions not just at the androgen receptor, but it's also a very potent glucocorticoid receptor modulator as well. So this compound is now it's used in cattle to beef them up. It's very fucking potent at it. Yeah. And some people before the underground lab started selling it would take like Finnic-Plex H is like the cattle branded version of Tren. They would take these pellets that you shoot into cows and they would like convert them into a oil-based suspension and then inject it themselves.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So they would do that in their kitchen. They go to like a vet supply store, buy like a Finnic-Plex like preparation kit, I guess, go home, mix it, and then shoot like cow medicine into their ass. And it's really fucking potent at what it does, but it's one of the most psychoactive altering drugs that you could be using from a mood volatility standpoint. It also really fucks up your sleep quality and causes almost like when women go through menopause and they end up with night sweats, you almost induce a state like that. Like Tren sweats at night are very, very common to a point where you wake up in soaked sheets because you're sweating every time you go to bed, regardless of what your temperature your room is at. And it fucks up your sleep quality quite significantly and seems to be one of the most neurotoxic drugs you could use. I don't know if it's because the drug itself is or because it fucks up your sleep. But either way, the sleep quality you get from it is terrible, which I think in turn consequently makes it one of the most mood altering drugs there is. And in its own activity seems to be pretty mood altering. And it's like it's not the only drug that does this, because drugs in general, anabolics, will exacerbate personality traits, I think, to some extent. Like roid rage, you're not going to just get it if you're a calm, chill guy. But Tren is the worst compound for bringing out the worst in people to a point where paranoia on it. Like you could have a super solid relationship with a chick, and after taking Tren for 4 to 6 weeks, all of a sudden you think that she's cheating on you for no reason. Like literally nothing is wrong, and you're just like, this chick's fucking around. And then you start doing like weird Snoopy shit, and you start to think that she's, going behind your back and doing stuff. And you convince yourself of it too. It seems like a rational, logical thought at the time. But then when you look back on it in hindsight, you're like, wow, I was fucking insane. And yeah, so it's very potent at what it does, but some people can't handle the mental side effects.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like one of the most side effect ridden drugs you can use, essentially.
Wow. Okay. So I'll read the chats real quick. And I see some of these are questions. So what we'll do is we'll do the questions at the end. Okay, guys. That way we can make sure we get through the interview and everything like that. Okay, so we got religious user of Gorilla Dream, great stuff, and that's from Vaughn B. And then we got $10 from Into My Zone. Hey Derek, longtime fan, have you looked into cat ownership and higher T levels? Apparently, toxoplasmosis increases T levels. Okay, that's a question. Are these all questions, Chris?
Is that true?
Yeah. If anything, we could just wait.
Okay, so guys, I'll read the chats at the end because a lot of them are questions, and I know you guys. We got a subject matter expert here, so I understand. But we're only going to read 20 and up. So, okay, so we talked about You don't have to answer this, Derek, but I figured since we're on the topic, top 3 fake natties, go.
Oh my god! Like just in the entire planet, or like
you could say fitness. We could say overall.
Okay, well, I would say The Rock for sure is up there. He says he took something when he was a teenager, and it was like he made it sound like it was an accident or something, and he got gynecomastia from it, I think. And then after that, he's claimed natty. He doesn't like go out and talk about it really, but he's basically implied multiple times that he's natural, and he has gone record saying he's natural in the past, I believe, as well. Okay. So anyway, and then Chris Hemsworth, I think, is another one personally. The guy, like, it's tough though, because when you say fake natty, have these guys ever come out and been like, I'm natural? No. To be fair to them, they don't talk about it. So it's not really a detriment to them where they're lying flat out. It's just they're not talking about it. So regardless if you want to perceive that as misleading or not, like when it comes to Chris, I think there is definitely some degree of, I don't know, like there's some problematic component when he's selling a platform of fitness. Like he has this app called the Center app, and he sold it for like, $100 million plus recently. It might've been 200 million, I forget. But a lot of the workouts in there are based around my, the how to get the physique of Thor, what I did to get the Thor physique, blah, blah, blah. And obviously these like kettlebell workouts and shit, it's like cool. You can do them and get in shape, but like, you're not going to look like fucking Chris after. So like, just be a bit more transparent in that, like, these are good workouts and like, we have good diet, suggestions and shit in the app, but just so you know, when I gain 30 pounds of muscle for a roll, like it's because of gear, not because of my fucking kettlebell swings, obviously.
It just like I remember I don't know if you guys remember the movie 300. There was like the 300 workout where you did like it was like 300 pull-ups or 100 pull-ups and like 300 push-ups, blah, blah, blah. And this was the workout that got them that physique. And it's like, bruh, you guys really think that that's what got them the physique, man? It's like,
Stop the cap.
Yeah. And I get it. It's like, because it's a marketing gimmick. It's like, yo, listen, if you do this, you can look like this. And I think that's where most people will draw like the issues with people, trying to call them out on being a fake natty or whatever, is because they're selling you a product saying this product is the reason why I look this way, versus like telling you like, oh, by the way, I had this physique for several years. I worked really hard. I might have used some gear to get here. But yeah, use this product, because it's going to get you this body. I think that's what had so many people pissed off. So, okay. So go ahead.
Good point here real quick. Kishna, 1929, $50 says, this guy knows more than most doctors about tests and supplements. Yes, I'm a doctor, and Derek knows more than me about this stuff. Kish, shout out to you, bro.
Hey, shout out to you, Kish.
I should know him in person, by the way.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, great doctor.
Oh, awesome.
Shout out to him.
That's fucking awesome. We got a doctor in here.
That, man.
Yep.
So, and
third one, Mike O Tren. Just you gotta put Mike O Tren in there, bro. Yeah.
And guys, he's referring to Mike O'Hearn.
Mike O'Hearn?
Yeah. I mean, dude, people. I've been watching fitness industry contests since like 2009, and even back then they were calling him Mike O Tren, bro. Like it's
no,
it's
that
crazy.
guy's taking that lie to the grave for sure at this point.
Yeah. And if you guys don't know where, you guys can Google him or whatever. I mean, hey, you know, I love his inspirational stuff. I think like he's a great motivator, like great speaker. But yeah, I mean, the guy, what is he? He's damn near 60 now at this point, right?
He's like in his almost mid 50s, I believe, and looks amazing. But
fantastic physique.
I think I don't see many guys maintain that size past like their mid 50s and live long, to be honest. So like in general, the thing that really gets bodybuilders seemingly is trying to maintain the absurd amounts of muscle for such a long period of time. And that's why you see all these early deaths in guys in even their late 30s, their mid 40s recently, especially. So with him, I think he's going to have to downsize soon, like quite significantly.
You know, since we're on a topic here, what do you think, Chris? Pull up one of the pictures, just enlarge it. And you guys can see, man, fantastic physique. This guy's been in shape like this since like the fucking 80s, bro. You know what I mean?
He's looked the same for like 25, 30 years or something.
What do you think? What do you think his stack is off of what you see here?
I would imagine at this point he's trying to be mindful of his lifespan to some extent. Like he knows that staying, even if you were natural, you could definitely make an argument that this amount of muscle is just like not healthy to sustain from like a heart support aspect. Like the amount of organ stress that would, how much oxygen carrying capacity do you need to support this much fucking lean muscle? It's just nuts. So this guy, I would imagine he's a very good responder to shit. And I would speculate he's doing the same kind of stuff we talked about earlier with celebrities getting prescribed, you know, testosterone, growth hormone, maybe some nandrolone, but I doubt he's using a ton of exotic shit and blasting his face off necessarily. I think he's just an exceptional responder. And I think he's probably doing like doctor prescribed stuff.
And I want to say this too real fast. Like I want, like this right here, this physique you guys see, this is what happens when you have amazing genetics.
Like top 0.00001% genetics.
Yeah.
And gear.
Exactly. Thank you. So when you combine gear with top genetics and a fucking relentless attitude, right, towards like training and being diligent and consistent for the better part of 30 damn years plus, like this is what you're going to look like when you're able to like take all these things and optimize them. The drug use, the consistency, the time, the fucking relentlessness. This is what you can build. I mean,
and to be clear with Mike too, despite like that everyone rags on him for being a fake natty and this and that, like he obviously works his dick off to maintain really this. Hard. So like that's not to take away from his hard work.
Yeah. You know, it's just that I just wish he was more honest about it too. But this is honestly, this is like the culmination of what happens when you take drug use with really fucking hard work and elite genetics. You look like this fucking guy. But
God damn.
Yeah. Great physique. Pause. Okay, so I guess we'll transition over to the hose now.
Dating.
I hope you guys enjoyed that, man, because like this guy is fucking one of the best on YouTube by far when it comes to breaking down physiques, what guy's natural, what's not. And then I saw Rich Piana in there too, man. Rest in peace to him. Yeah. You know what? Real quick, with Rich Piana, I think you did a video on that because you know he's another bodybuilder that left us too soon, and I was a fan of his stuff because he was one of the first guys that was honest about gear use when everyone else was terrified to talk about that shit. He was like one of the first people like, hey man, this shit's bullshit, just eat real food. You know what I'm saying? And that was like crazy back then. So what are your thoughts on the late great Rich Piana?
Yeah, I think he definitely brought a lot of attention to, I don't know, some of the darker side things of bodybuilding, but also just transparency about like what works, what doesn't. And I don't know, really like crushed quite a few myths in the industry for sure. And definitely a larger than life guy, very charismatic, I don't know, exceptionally entertaining. And sucks how he's, again, like I just mentioned how guys try to maintain their size into older age and then it kind of bites them in the ass. I think this might have been an example of that. He was in his mid 40s and probably should have been a bit more mindful of, like, especially when you're such a successful entrepreneur and whatnot. It's like, do you need to, I don't know, like if your entire brand's built around your physique, then maybe I could see why you feel it necessary, but also your brain gets so warped, I imagine, when you're this size that maybe you can't even wrap your head around losing it because your entire persona is built around it. So maybe that's partially what fueled his need to constantly be that big. But I imagine if he, downsized earlier, he might have, lived a longer, healthier life for sure.
What was his official cause of death? I know his girlfriend, I think, found him unresponsive in the house.
I forget exactly, but there was
a while ago.
Apparently he was like a heavy stimulant user too. So that in conjunction with anabolics, in conjunction with being 300 pounds, in conjunction with, massively enlarged heart and all of these different things. Yeah. Obviously like a ticking time bomb.
Bro, I'm just hearing this, man. I wouldn't want to do steroids anyway.
That's why I tell guys, if it's not, most guys have no business doing it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of you, unless you're making a living off of it and stuff like that, it comes with some consequences. And I see all you guys say, you know what, man, I was a big Zyzz fan. So
yeah,
we could pull up Zyzz real quick, Chris.
By the way,
people are asking for it.
I'm a fan of Zyzz too.
Yeah.
I have his playlist.
I definitely do as well.
And man,
dude, how many people found sick trance music from that guy's videos?
Yo, man, dude. Fuck yeah! Like, dude. Yo, we're all gonna make it. And he's the reason why I started listening to Armin van Buuren and Tiesto. He's the whole reason
I used to like pre-drink to Tiesto songs from Zyzz videos.
Yeah, dude. Like I don't care what anyone says.
Myron, bro.
Zyzz is by far. That's how I came with the name Myron.
Myron,
like, you Myron, bro. Like,
yep.
You Myron my gains. Like Zyzz, probably I would say, if not, is the most influential fitness guy in this part of like the past since like Arnold, because this guy influenced like the whole aesthetic movement, from 2010, whatever, him and his brother, Chess Bro, who we're going to have on the show as well, guys. So check that out. Oh, Jeff's side also, but Zyzz came before Jeff's side. No, that's not him, Chris.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay.
It's no, right there. The one with the glasses.
Yeah.
There you go. That's him.
You want to hear a joke?
Australian bodybuilder.
My buddy from Barbados, Devindra, looks just like Zyzz.
Oh yeah, you showed me that. Yeah.
It's weird.
And he passed away, guys. Long story short, he passed away, guys, from, if I'm not mistaken, heart failure, in 2011 in Thailand. And then he also, I think he was fairly honest about. He never overtly admitted. They used to make the joke of riding bicycles, which means being on a cycle. But yeah,
he used to post his actual cycles on bodybuilding.com.
He did. Okay, he did. Okay. So, and I think that's why a lot of people liked him, was because like he was like, hey man, don't give a fuck, get out there, get in shape. Damn, I'm trying to remember what one of his quotes. Disregard bitches, acquire aesthetics, like shit like that. Came out with a bunch of like really cool quotes. To this day, stand the test of time, and a lot of people don't know where it came from. But this guy was fucking all the rage back in like 2010, 2011. But he passed away in August of 2011, unfortunately. And then his brother, Saeed Sergeyevich, aka Chesbro, is carrying the legacy. What's your thoughts on Zyzz, Derek? Because I know the people want to know. They've been asking for in the chat.
I don't know. Like, he definitely inspired a lot of guys to get in the gym and work out. He definitely inspired a lot of guys to get out of their shell as well, which I think is definitely notable. He himself was like an introvert, nerdy, like gamer guy. And ended up showing that despite that, he was able to really become a extroverted, like life of the party. Not that that's a necessity at all, but I mean, like actually put himself into uncomfortable situations and build a life that he was, happy with, especially from a dating perspective. And I don't know, like, I think he was just inspiring for a lot of teens up and coming, especially. And he definitely got a lot of guys in the gym, got a lot of guys, I don't know, just to change their mindset about shit in general. Like we're all gonna make it kind of philosophy.
We're all gonna make it, bro.
Yeah, definitely got a lot of people, I don't know, more optimistic about the future and what they could actually accomplish.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, I'd be lying if I didn't say he didn't inspire me. Like, he inspired so many people, a whole generation of people that are like, anyone that's in a gym that's like 25 plus, more than likely probably knows who Zyzz is, and or he was inspired by them. So like, he
reached Barbados, bro, with his reach. Yo, Chris, check the chat.
He was
real quick.
International, bro. This guy was from Australia, but everyone in the Western world knew him. You know what I'm saying?
So funny story. My buddy was skinnier than me, right? He was like a toothpick, bro, right?
Yeah.
And we started watching like Zyzz videos back in the day, and he would be like, "Yo, Myron, bro, playlist. We'll be in the gym a little bit, here and there."
Well, you never probably, but
I did for a little bit. I didn't keep it consistently, but And look at him now, bro. Like,
oh, that's your buddy? Yeah. See, inspired right there.
Super skinny, bro. He was like a toothpick, but he inspired a generation, bro. So shout out to Zyzz, man.
No, for sure.
Rest in peace.
And that's and I think that's why people are gonna remember him, is because so many people got in the gym and self-improved, and a lot of people were able to see themselves in him. Yeah, like myself, I was a video game nerd.
Nerd, bro. Yeah,
and I figured out I got in the gym. I started working out in 2008, but then when I discovered Zyzz in 2010, it like ignited the fire to go even further. So
man, I'm fired up to work out right now. That's some tacos.
Nigga, bro.
Stop the cap.
So. Okay, so all right, so I guess we could transition over to girls.
Yes,
I know the chat, they were going crazy with Zyzz. And recipes to him, and we're gonna have Chess Bra is gonna be here, guys, in July. So stay tuned for that.
There you
go. So girls, Derek, what's your thoughts on the current dating marketplace, aka the sexual marketplace? I'll just let you take it away, man.
I've always been under the impression, I think I probably made a video about it years ago, about how 90% or 10% of guys get like 90% of the chicks. I feel like that percentage is, I don't know, probably still representative. Like, obviously you will see random guys who it's like, how did that guy get that chick? And, you know, there's always, you know, an explanation for it in general. Sometimes the guy gets lucky, but I think that in general, you know, the more, not necessarily like crutches, but the more kind of attributes you have checked off on your bucket, on your list of, you know, things that make you a desirable partner, the better, because you're just setting yourself apart from everyone else. So, and you're going to have your pick, I don't know, of whoever, not whoever you want, but you know, your options open up dramatically the more things you have going for you relative to the next guy. And it's created like a very disproportionately, it's not unfair because that's just kind of like how the world works now, but a very disproportionate dating environment for sure.
Well said.
Yeah. I agree 100%, man. I mean, you know, I definitely agree that a minority of the men are definitely banging a majority of the girls. And then, you know, there are those anomalies where you might see a guy with a fucking hot ass girl and you're like, how the fuck did he land that? But again, like you said, there's typically an explanation. 9 out of 10 times that guy just kept chasing her and she just said, okay, you know what? I'll give you a chance.
Yeah.
Like that's how a lot of guys like get girls that are hot.
We just did an interview with Bradley Martin and we spoke about how can guys actually have a chance in the dating market. And the only possible way now is to self-improve. Like you have to have everything pretty much, have options open up.
With the globalized marketplace. Yeah. So you have some business partners that are in the space. How did you get introduced to this side of the internet? You know, the manosphere, red pill, self-improvement type side.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I severely underperformed relative to what I thought I was capable of. I was like this skinny twig, introverted, had no opportunities with girls because I just thought it was, I don't know. I just like thought you would go to parties and shit would just get like handed to you on a silver platter, and it just didn't work like that. You actually had to go out and talk to them, which was something I had no concept of at the time. So going into university, I was like very, I don't know, underachieving in my dating life to a point that I had essentially zero experience. And then I started to, you know, naturally you start to look at stuff online as to like, what am I doing wrong? What should I be doing? Like, what's going on here? How do I self-improve? And I stumbled across Chris Diotis, Good Looking Loser, his first pickup video ever in like 2011 or something. And I was like, holy shit. It was something I actually resonated with because he was like a bodybuilder, kind of like meathead type guy. And he didn't seem to be like overly strategic with the way he talked. He just threw himself into the fire and then would kind of see how the conversation went rather than prior to that, I had read The Game by Neil Strauss, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have if you started off similar to I, trying to learn about how the shit works and social dynamics and like, what do I say? What's the best opening line? And in 2010 or 2011, before I saw Chris's stuff, I was under the impression that if you just had like good game, then, and yeah, game's important, of course, but I thought if you just had like the perfect thing to say, it would equate to sex, which is like so dumb. But back then, the mystery method, you're taught that if you just say the right things, even if it's not your own story, you literally like memorized it from his fucking script, that you would be able to go from like step 1, which is like attraction stage 1, fucking sexual intercourse stage 3 within 7 hours. And you're like, oh, it's like a math equation. I just got to like go in there and like solve the fucking puzzle, and then I have sex. And that's not actually how it works, unfortunately. And I'm glad it doesn't work that way too, because it turns you into this robot who just knows how to regurgitate lines that aren't even yours. Like doing DHV spikes that aren't even your own like story. So fucking nonsensical. So I saw Chris's stuff, and he actually used to do pickup with like the guys from Neil Strauss's book. He lived in like a Beverly Hills pickup mansion, and he would go out with like RSD Tyler and I think Matador and like some of these guys that are from like the top guys. And see what they did, and the way they did shit, and he just couldn't relate to the peacocking, to the whole make sure you talk to a girl over your shoulder, like don't face her because you're downplaying your value or whatever the fuck.
Telegraphing too much interest.
So he basically just started like walking up to chicks and introducing himself and talking, and it worked much better for him. And I resonated with this stuff a lot, because it seemed like even though you're going to crash and burn your first like 10 to 20 approaches or whatever, you actually develop communication skills. Whereas with Mystery Method, you just get really good at memorizing shit. So with him, I was like, oh, a guy who's like similar to me. He's like a bodybuilder dude. He had, not that much success with chicks before, or, he had some success naturally, but it wasn't what he wanted. And just the way he went about it, I was like, oh, I can actually get on board with the method he's using, which was no method. It was just go up, talk, and make it work. Even if you suck, just like make it work. And I watched a bunch of his stuff. I was like one of the first 10 people to join his online forum, and basically just logged my like approach. I don't know, like I literally logged approaches for like a year or something, where I would go up to a chick and be like, hey, this is how it went. Like this happened. I got the number. I didn't get the number. It turned into a date. And eventually, like by the end of the log, if you're actually doing it consistently and putting in effort, you get to a point where you actually have a dating life. Whereas prior to that, you had nothing, and you didn't even realize how the concept of walking up to a chick you've never met and talking to her was revolutionary to me at the time, because I assumed in high school, everyone seemed to just get involved with friend circles, like friends of friends would get together. And it was kind of like, it seemed like some sort of predetermined thing that you could only have happen if you were connected beforehand. And I was like, well, I don't have these connections, so I guess I'm fucked. It was like what I thought at the time.
100%.
But no, it was in reality, you can go talk to a stranger, strike up a conversation, and actually get to know them, and then you have that connection. And like, to me, once I actually, as obvious as that sounds, learning that for the first time, I was like, damn, floodgates are open. I can go talk to girls at my university. I can go up to chicks at the club. I can build social circles and then leverage that to increase my social value when I'm in the club, blah, blah, blah. And then from there, I started to, really get into it. And I don't know, I spent like a year straight just trying to maximize and get to what I felt was like a high quality dating life, and get all my approach anxiety out of my head, be able to go up to chicks on a whim. And that was like hugely impactful, not only on my dating life, but in addition to that, it translated so directly into job interviews, into business presentations, like all of these things that were massively impactful on my overall communication skills, that it's something that, I don't know, like I really value that time in my life. And I'm really glad I went through the ringer on it, because otherwise I would not be where I'm at, in my opinion.
And I'll say this real quick, Duke, because you touched on a lot of great points there, and I didn't want to stop you. What you were mentioning before about like social, right? Like having friend groups or whatever. That's how most normal guys meet their girlfriend or meet some kind of female counterpart, is through social circle game. Most guys don't have the balls or the knowledge, quite frankly, to consistently cold approach and do it in a fashion where it's productive and actually meet girls and close it and take it to, sex. A lot of guys don't even have that skill. And people might make fun and be like, oh, all you guys are you PUA fucking incels, losers, red pill guys, whatever it may be. But no, because when a lot of guys find this kind of content, typically through some kind of trauma, and then they go on the internet looking for answers, like, holy shit, you're telling me that I can go out and talk to girls that I don't even know and just cold approach? And like, the answer is yeah, but a lot of guys don't even think that that's possible, because we're indoctrinated to think a lot of the times like, yo, just use social circle, make friends in school, and that's good enough. But it's like you're never going to meet a wider demographic of people if you don't put yourself out there and cold approach. And so it's fantastic. So you have all the old school stuff. So what would you say nowadays is dated and like no longer works in the contemporary sexual marketplace? What doesn't work and what still works in your opinion?
So it's interesting because when I was first getting into it, I think Tinder got introduced maybe like 2 years after I started or a year after. Like when I first
got in the game like 2010, right?
Yeah, so like when I started, it was like Plenty of Fish, OkCupid were seen as like supplements to your cold approach. So it'd be like the majority of your opportunities would come through cold approach, or like in general, Plenty of Fish and OkCupid, depending on where you lived, there might have been like some population density that'd be in your favor, but it was highly dependent on where you lived, of course. But at the time, it was like a supplementary, way to meet chicks too. That actually at the time was like, those were like the go-to places for online dating, as ridiculous as it sounds. But over the years, it's definitely leaned far more towards online presence and your ability to attract via your high quality pictures, to set up a date and get a chick out, being efficient, blah, blah, blah. I think cold approach is massively impactful still though, from like a social development aspect. So I think you should always have the ability. I don't think you should ever rely entirely on online dating until you've actually gotten to a point where your approach anxiety is like zero, because you actually are capable of, if you see a cute chick at the grocery store, you have the balls to go up to her. Like, I don't think anyone should ever get away from the fact that that's important. However, I think from a time efficiency standpoint, online dating is like disproportionately the move now. Yeah. And having a good social profile, I think, is way more important than it used to be. Like Instagram, no one gave a fuck about it when I was first starting this stuff. I think it's important to have a good one now. I think your online dating profile is like so important. Having a high quality camera, going out of your way to get pictures, that stuff is literally like, you're literally a product on a marketplace at this point. Not just like when you show up in person and you do a cold approach, you can display so much value from a tonality standpoint, from a confidence standpoint, from a like literally even in person seeing your height relative to the person's standpoint, like whatever it is that she perceives as like your DHV or like your value at the time. That stuff you can't really like show online very much. So you just have to make sure your pictures are fucking money and your bio is representative of just like a good, clean, concise summation of like what you're about, sort of thing. Wow. And I think your social profile needs to reflect that as well. And then obviously once you actually get them on dates, you have to be able to move the needle, but I think that comes more with experience. Like even if you have a pinnacle fucking sick profile and you get a ton of dates, if you crash and burn and you suck at talking, like chicks aren't going to want to be with you. But you should expect that, I think, in your first month or two. You're going to be an awkward motherfucker, and that's totally normal. Like, everyone has that.
Yeah. So. You made some good points there, Derek. And we have a course, quick plug, not just kidding. No. But we talk about all the time, right? Social media, how you can use it to your advantage, because the current dating market, bro, most girls, before they even leave the house, are getting DMs or getting approached online. And if you have a good profile, guess what? Now you have a chance to enter that contest, so to speak, because it's going to be probably the highest bidder, our best lifestyle, our best photos. And if you have a good page, I'm telling you right now, bro, the scale of what you can do, because for example, right, cold approach, he's up to 10 chicks a day, possibly. With Instagram or social media, you could do 100 girls a day easily from your bedroom. So it's like access and scale is 10 times more on social media.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like it's just like a business card and you're just out there. You know what I mean? It's like it's out there all the time and it's working for you because your profile can be discovered by women at all times versus like you actually getting out there and cold approaching. And I agree with you 100%, Derek, that you can't get away from cold approaching. You need to cold approach because cold approaching, number one, it teaches you rudimentary basics. It allows you to understand body language. It allows you to convey a conversation in person because at the end of the day, you can have the best profile ever. But if you're a fucking weirdo when you meet her on the date, you're still not going to smash. So like having a good profile gets your foot in the door, and then having the game and the physical presence and the tonality seals the deal. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to be congruent, right? This is your online profile, and then this is you in person. Now you're congruent, and you can marry the two together, and then bam, you are who you say you are. Girls going to love that because women look for inconsistencies and incongruencies when they deal with you. So that's why it's so important to be able to walk it like you talk it on both sides. Because there's so many guys that have like great profiles, whatever, but they're weirdos when you meet them in person.
Facts.
And okay, so the online presence is one thing. Anything else you think that is outdated from like, you know, the old PUA stuff versus in today's current dating marketplace?
I think staying on top of like fashion trends are constantly evolving. So if you're listening to like, let's say you're reading a dating guide from like 2014 or something, like obviously the advice is going to be massively different for how you clean yourself up and like what you should be wearing and stuff. So obviously like dressing well, being in shape, I think that stuff's all kind of like common sense, although a lot of guys don't really take it to heart. But you only need a few like really good outfits realistically to get started. You don't really need to like replace your entire fucking wardrobe or something, but getting a few really good currently trending, or not like trending, but just like flattering outfits for your body composition, especially, as well as actually getting is in shape, which fortunately I don't think is too time intensive of a thing to do concurrently. Like again, there's a big debate around should you be maximizing entrepreneurship or making money while you try and do pickup, and I think there's definitely like a debate to be had there. But like the gym, getting your fucking wardrobe fixed, hygiene, that kind of stuff can all be done concurrently with ease and fit into your schedule. Even if you have part-time work, full-time work as well, that can all be done simultaneously, and within, you know, a couple months, like magnify your results multiple fold for sure. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily think that's outdated necessarily though, because everyone was always saying like be in shape, like no shit, you know, try and dress well, obviously, hygiene, obviously. But I don't know. I think sometimes people try and do one thing at a time and neglect certain things and they wonder why they're not getting results. In like a cold approach, it's like, well, you look like dog shit and you smell or like whatever, mm-hmm. You know, like some of this stuff is really easy stuff to check the boxes of simultaneously while you're doing it.
So we have a late night show where we bring girls in, you know, as you know, Derek, for the after hours. And it happens because a lot of girls will say the biggest issue is hygiene. And it's a simple thing to fix for the most part, for most guys. But like you said earlier, either they're not aware or they don't focus on it. And then they wonder, why am I getting rejected? Well, if your breath stinks, if you dress like a bum, obviously speaking, you're going to get no's. So that's a very good point you brought up, bro.
Yeah, and I want to say too, because I forgot to mention this, like the thing I liked about Chris from Good Looking Loser is, because I've looked at his stuff as well, is he teaches guys to screen out girls that aren't DTF, right? Or girls that are sexually available versus girls that aren't sexually available. And one of the tricks that I use to this day that he actually taught me was when you shake a girl's hand, hold it and see how she responds to that. If she's sexually available, she'll hold on to it. If she won't, then she'll like obviously pull back away, which I always thought was a very great covert screening tool. And then so I came up with 6 things actually right now that I think are some of the main differences between pickup nowadays versus pickup from like, you know, 10 plus years ago, back when, you know, the PUAs were running around in the early to mid 2000s. So I would say the number one thing that's changed dating is the advent of the smartphone. That smartphone has completely changed the fucking game and changed the sexual marketplace, and it's never going to go back. It's, you know, and with the, you know, inception of the smartphone, I would say a couple of things have changed because of it. Number one, can openers are no longer a thing. If you're using can openers, bro, it's just not going to work. And then mystery used to be really hard on 7 hours, right? And you mentioned earlier, as far as like to get sex, you can get it in shorter time than that now. But I do see what he means by that, as far as like 7 hours for her to build an attachment for you, bare minimum. But you can do it in less. And I would argue you could do it in less.
You could do it like fucking like immediately if she's warm enough, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Next, the third thing is the power of night game does not have the same potency as it did, you know, 10 plus years ago. Because nowadays when girls go to the club and the bar, it's no longer really a social situation. As far as like meeting people, it's more of a social situation for their social media. And what I mean by that is girls are more concerned with taking Snapchats and taking Instagram stories and showing a certain image versus actually going there to meet guys. And this was a two-pronged approach that I think killed night game. It was two different things. And Roosh identified this as well, which I agree with him 100%. The advent of the smartphone and bottle service, and AKA VIP sections. These two things have basically killed night game. Now, is it still possible to go out there and get chicks in during night? Absolutely. It's just that it's made it a bit more difficult to run night game effectively, because now you got to compete for VIP sections, everything else like that. And if you're a regular patron versus a guy that's in a VIP section, well, that guy in the VIP section, he can be a fucking dork. The girl's going to go to him because he's presenting, maybe a false narrative of I'm a higher status guy, because within this immediate social context, I have a table. So come with me. And we all know girls are followers. So they're going to go with where all the other girls are, which tend to be in VIP sections. So night game has been hurt quite a bit. So I think that's something else that's a little bit dated. It could still work, but it's not going to have the same strength as it did for before, as far as like sourcing girls. And then next, I would say is number closes are now useless. They used to be a metric of success, but I don't think they're that big anymore. Especially with how girls have like features to block your number nowadays. A number close doesn't do shit, and girls are more flaky now than ever before. So number closes aren't anything. And then I would say, and then also with Instagram, girls are going to try to give you their IG instead sometimes if they don't like you. And then number 5, I would say you have to set up dates immediately. The days of like, doing cold approach and like setting up a date a week later, some shit to try to like not telegraph too much interest. Those days are fucking done. You need to set up dates immediately now, because with all the options that women have, you can easily get forgotten. And those are my 5 things that I would think are I would say are data. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on.
No, yeah, I agree with everything. Yeah, the setting up a date immediately. I think even back in like 2011, or 2012, I did that. I thought that was important because it was like, I guess if you're doing a cold approach, the likelihood is high she will remember you over the dudes in her DMs. Even today, I feel like, and you'd set yourself apart quite significantly. But still, she has a lot of options, and making sure you capitalize on that like initial interest spike, I think is important for sure. So I think that following up on that is like pretty fucking critical to do soon. And especially if you're doing it online, like you got to set up the date like right when you're talking, or in my opinion. I'm trying to think of everything you said, but the night game thing, yeah, like for me at this point, unless I literally logistically had a place that was so close to like a prime spot that I was very, very, I don't know, constantly had a new cycle of like high quality girls coming in and out of there, I wouldn't even be doing night game probably, to be honest. Like, it was so inefficient. I was a bouncer for a while, and even back then, like I would see how much time guys would eat up trying to game chicks and, segregate them from their groups and this and that. And then you have to logistically find out how to get home from downtown if you don't live like right beside the fucking club. Unless you have like a spot that's your spot and you're, can take advantage like every, I don't know, however many nights a week, and it's like logistically perfect for you, I feel like a lot of people are not going to be that successful with night versus.
That's a fantastic point. Logistics is half the game with night game. Yeah. Like I remember like if I went to somewhere like a city or whatever, like if I wouldn't even run night game if I didn't have a place like close as fuck to wherever the hell I was going to go. Like, cause night game is all about closing and escalating quickly. And a big part of escalating quickly is, getting her back to your place while things are still high and heavy versus like, oh, let's just meet up tomorrow, or yo, I'm an hour away. Like, dude, the logistics is half the game when it comes to night game. So that's a fantastic point that you mentioned, is that like the other half of night game, besides just running game and dealing with all the fucking objections, whether it's loud music, getting in with entrance fee, dealing with fucking bitchy ass, annoying ass friends, bouncers, whatever it may be, other guys trying to AMOG. The other obstacle is logistics.
I would add 2 more in there as well regarding night game. So before a girl even gets to the club, she's being DM'd, pull up here, come to my table.
Which you didn't have to deal with like 20 years ago. Now you do.
Most interactions in person, yes, are better for, showing body language and getting, that connection up front. However, now there's FaceTime. So I could DM a chick, but FaceTime me real quick. We talk for a little bit, 10, 20 minutes. I build a connection over the phone. And she's like, oh, wow, this guy's interesting. I'm going to see his house, his lifestyle, his cars behind me. And FaceTime, I want to get to know him. So before she's even in the club, she's like, damn, I can't wait to meet this guy. So you call approaching her. She's like, I'm good. I'm waiting for somebody. Yeah. So before she even gets there, she's already being approached. And then secondly, regarding the club as well, whenever a girl's in there, bro, like she's already been hit up by a bunch of promoters saying, hey, come to my table, come here. Yeah. So she's already in the mindset of, I'm at a table, all from her phone, and before she even gets there. Yeah.
It used to be, and I think that's another reason too why night game isn't as powerful, is because before, right, when Mystery and all these guys were walking around and running around like to the clubs and not running a night game or whatever, it was fantastic because the girls, right, had to leave their house to get attention.
Yep.
So like a lot of times girls would like be chomping at the bit to get to a nightclub or get to the bar or get to happy hour, because it was going to be one of the few times that they'd actually be able to get attention from the opposite gender. But nowadays, right? They wake up and they get that attention. So it's not valuable anymore. Male attention is ever so available, and girls. This is why so many girls don't respect men in general. Like when you go on fucking TikTok, you go and you talk to a girl. Like a lot of girls have resentment towards men, and they don't respect men because so many guys give their attention away for free.
Yeah,
and this is something that early PUAs didn't necessarily have to battle with, because when a girl met them, it wasn't as if she got hit up by 100 guys earlier that day. That bitch had to dress up, put makeup on, and go to the club to be able to even meet a guy that was worthy of talking to, versus like now it's like they don't have an appreciation for that male attention anymore.
Yeah.
So
no, yeah, I definitely agree on that. It's tainted the mentality of everyone. I feel like now
it's made it harder for guys, quite frankly, is what it's done. And night game, even though I love it, I can't lie. It is an enormous waste of time for most people. If you want the most return on your investment as far as like hitting on girls, night game is probably one of the least productive ways to do it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't work either. Like obviously it does, and it can work. And especially if you actually enjoy clubs and stuff, fuck, like by all means, because obviously your attitude and the way you come across to women is going to come across better if you're genuinely happy being in that environment. But for me, like I never actually liked clubs. Like it was never a place I wanted to be just for the sake of being there necessarily with my friends. Like I didn't like the loud music where I can't even fucking talk sort of thing. So for me, if I'm thinking about efficiency and getting the most high quality, date setup or whatever it is, a number from a club means nothing. So logistically, if I'm not like right beside it and ready to make it happen right there, it's just in general going to be like a arduous process to like get something done to begin with. Whereas with like setting up dates via Tinder or cold approaches when I'm just out and about doing my shopping or whatever it is, I can set up like an efficient schedule of dates throughout the week, get to bed at a good time and be like fucking dialed in every day and know exactly like each block of time what is happening rather than some arbitrary what's going to happen when I'm at the club, how I'm going to make this work, how I'm going to get an Uber like 30 minutes to my fucking place. Is she going to, have some bail by then for some reason?
Yeah. And it's funny. Like I love conversations like this, Derek, because it's amazing to me how women don't even fucking know what goes into the process of being attractive as a guy. Like there's a whole internet infrastructure teaching guys how to figure this shit out. But girls come on our podcast and think like, well, it's just easy to get girls. What are you talking about? Like if I was a guy, I'd be able to get girls, or it's not that hard, or, dudes be getting bitches. And it's amazing. Like women really don't know, understand, or I'll take it a step further, give a fuck about the male experience, because they think that all guys are out here just getting girls. And that's the apex fallacy, where they're dealing with maybe the top 3, 4, 5% of guys. And what they don't know is even those guys, have to do some planning and put some things in place to make sure that they can close so that it looks smooth.
Yeah.
If you enjoy some pizza, right? You go to your favorite pizza shop. You're not in the back watching the fucking guy spinning the dough and, how he had to use certain water temperature to make sure the pizza tastes good and the yeast is just right and all that. You just enjoy the pizza, right? But you don't necessarily know all the hard work and sweat equity it took to make that recipe and make it perfect. Women don't understand what it takes to be attractive as a guy. And we actually have a segment on our show when girls say, I could pick up, I could easily get a girl, but blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what? How about this? You be the guy, I'll be the girl. We're going to give you guys standard female objections. You go ahead and pick the venue. And we act like the girl, bro. These girls fall flat on their face every fucking time. They resort to saying, oh, let me buy you a bag or a purse. Or, yo, you want to call me? I got some money. And they immediately refer to tricking. And I'm like, why do you think this is going to work? And they're like, well, that's what guys do to me. And I ask them, well, did he fuck you for doing that? And they're like, no. I was like, so why the fuck do you think it's going to work right now? And it's amazing how you use their own medicine against them. The same objections like, oh, my friend's over there. Or, oh, no, I can't use it. Or, oh, I'll let you know. Use that shit. And they have no response for it, bro. And it like girls have zero idea about how difficult it is to actually be an attractive man and close consistently.
No, yeah. Ask the fisherman how to fish, not the fish, or whatever the saying is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Facts. All right, so questions? We'll hit these real quick. Unless, Derek, do you have anything else you want to hit on the sexual marketplace or anything?
No, I'm good.
All right. Natty by nature?
Natty by nature. Can Derek be in a late show, please, with some ladies? We'll love to see him confuse women with the gear talk. We will have Derek on. Next time he's stateside, guys, we'll have him here in Miami. I'm trying to gain weight, but struggle with knowing my calorie intake, thinking of meal prepping. I drink protein shakes and take creatine at the moment with 3 meals. Any thoughts on 5'7", 135 lean, but want to get to 150-pound cut?
So sorry, he wants to get to 150 pounds and he's not there yet. I'm just trying
I'm sorry. He's 100.
He's 5'7", 135 pounds, lean.
But he wants to get to 150 pounds cut.
Find more calorie dense alternatives for the foods you're currently eating. If your appetite is the bottleneck, you're not eating enough, obviously, but in addition to that, if you literally can't handle more food because it's intolerable for your current appetite, then you have to find more calorie dense alternatives, like switching white meat for red meat, putting healthy fats on your meals. It's not that hard to add, some olive oil to your, chicken and rice or whatever it is.
You can put some olive oil on your protein shakes, guys. You won't even taste it, and you get extra calories in. Joshua, $20. Derek, fan of the show. In your opinion, are SARMs just as dangerous as everyone else you just mentioned? Everything else you just mentioned?
I think it depends on the context, and in terms of like the cardiovascular risks and stuff, it's like impossible for me to quantify something that is not approved for human use versus something that, there's a lot of literature on exactly how your body responds to testosterone. So I think in general, SARMs do have their unique applications, and like the androgen sensitive, like women, for example, guys who are super prone to hair loss, maybe in some aspects, but in general, they have the risks. They're liver toxic, just like oral steroids are, and they're not entirely safe like some companies that sell them might lead you to believe.
Bam. Neil Stewart goes, Delt Lord himself, FNF, thank you. Derek, if trying gear for the first time, what is the basics? So much conflicting info. Where do most folks get their clean gear from? Doctors, post-cycling is confusing. Explain. We had talked about this earlier, bro. This chat might have come in before, but is there anything you want to add to that, Derek?
It would be impossible to summarize like everything you would need to know in like a 2-minute, concise way, but I have plenty of videos on it. If you want to check out my channel, my PEDs playlist, health and hormones playlist.
Bam.
But just like don't start until you understand what you're doing, because you're shutting down your system and imposing risks that if you don't fully understand what you're getting yourself into, you probably shouldn't be jumping into it in the first place.
Bam.
All right.
Doc Hancock, Derek, what are your thoughts on Synthroid for fat loss?
Synthroid for fat loss?
Synthroid, yeah.
That is T4. So that is a thyroid hormone. If you are hypothyroid and you do not produce enough T4, it might be worthwhile, pending you've already tried to dial in your diet and you're not, iodine deficient or something, or selenium deficient would be more so for T3 deficiency. But there are a lot of micronutrients that people are missing out on that move the needle quite significantly. So I would recommend, there's a site called chronometer.com. CRONOMETER.com. And basically, unlike MyFitnessPal, you plug in your diet and it actually shows you what your micronutrient breakdown is too, not just macronutrients. So it shows you if you're deficient in, zinc, for example, or random B vitamins or minerals. And then from there, you can kind of like work backwards and see, oh, maybe this is where I need to supplement because my current diet is not hitting this need, and this need. And if you're deficient in any nutrients, you're going to have suboptimal organ function in some capacity, likely. So ensuring you're hitting your iodine intake would be prudent. And there are other things you can do, but off the top of my head, that's kind of like the main needle mover. But T4 itself, if you're hypothyroid and you actually need it and you get it prescribed, it'll make you burn more fat, but it's only because you were suboptimal to begin with, essentially.
Yeah, and I guess another way they can do is they can just go get a blood test to see what they're deficient in as well, right?
Yeah, and obviously, if you use more than you produce and you're trying to use like a super physiological amount as an enhancement technique, you're going to burn more fat. But keep in mind too, your body, when it comes to thyroid hormone, it's quite indiscriminate in how it burns tissue. So it will burn through muscle just as harsh as fat. So if you're not on anabolics and you're pushing your thyroid hormone into like above reference range territory and essentially inducing a state of hyperthyroidism, you're going to be very catabolic and like strip muscle off your frame.
All right. Anon Slevin goes, hey, Derek, huge fan. Can you give us your insights on the best hair transplant doctors in the U.S.?
I actually don't know any, to be honest. I haven't had a transplant yet. I might in the future, but when I look into it, I'll have those kind of answers. But right now, I don't know fucking anything about transplant doctors.
Okay. Real Masculinity goes $20. What do you think about finasteride with primobolan to avoid hair loss during primal cycle, Derek?
Finasteride does nothing to prevent hair loss induced by primobolan because it's a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. Primobolan doesn't convert to anything via 5-alpha reductase. So it's not like primobolan becomes a DHT derivative when it hits 5-AR. It is something that's already derived from DHT. So any hair loss you get from primo is like literally unaffected entirely by finasteride. So finasteride will prevent hair loss caused by testosterone downstream DHT, but it does nothing to prevent primobolan-induced hair loss.
Bam. Okay. Neil Stewart, $20. If you take tests, can you cycle off without permanent damage, e.g., body unable to produce natural testosterone, shriveled nuts, having children? What gear can doctors legally prescribe, and the medical reason to get legal gear?
If you were hypogonadal to begin with and you got a TRT prescription because you were suboptimally functioning to begin with, then whenever you cycle off, you would go back to your baseline state, which was suboptimal to begin with. If you were perfectly healthy and used testosterone, yeah, there's a high likelihood you could recover natural function. But depending on how much drug you've used, how long you've used it, the recovery process, it's not necessarily guaranteed that it's quick and it's going to be full either. Like you might not recover to entire baseline. So there's no guarantee on any of this shit at the end of the day, and that's why you have to understand what you're doing. And there are ways to mitigate and attenuate the risks of those things. So like maintaining testicular volume with HCG while you're on cycle, for example, like there are certain tactics that people use. But again, that's where like the proper research comes in beforehand as far as getting stuff prescribed and like what doctors can prescribe. I think the only compounds that are approved for human use right now are, at least in the States, I think it's Test, DECA, oxandrolone, I think oxymethylone, which is Anadrol, oxandrolone's Anavar. I think Winstrol might be approved, but most of those compounds, like you're not a burn patient. So like getting oxandrolone prescribed is not going to be like the easiest thing in the world. In general, like doctors are becoming more and more flexible when it comes to testosterone prescriptions, but
yeah, it's easy to get it now.
Yeah, a lot of those compounds, like getting them is more so going to be, I don't know, depending on how liberal the doctor is that you are working with and how much, like they're sort of taking some degree of risk, presumably, if they are going to prescribe something that isn't like actually medically indicated. So you just have to be mindful of that. It's not just like, what can you prescribe? It's also like, what do they think you need and why? Because it's not always warranted. Like oftentimes you'll see guys come into HRT clinics and it's just like, I want legal gear. And they're like 22 years old or something. And, if a doctor doesn't give a fuck and they just want to make money via the clinic and the way they mark up their medications and they just want to get as many prescriptions done, like, yeah, maybe you can get pharma grade test, Anavar, this, that. But clinics that are ethical and aren't going to just indiscriminately give like kids gear are not going to allow that very easily in most cases.
All right.
And then
the Duchess, $10 says,
just showing love to y'all. Just stepped out the gym. Thanks for having me again. Gotcha.
Shout out to you.
Okay, so we got. I just need to let Derek know that I love him and have a full body pillow of him, and that's from Marco the Clown. Okay, Marco the Clown. What the fuck? Real masculinity. Did my first cycle of tests only a year ago for 3 months. Been on UGL test for TRT ever since. Derek, what do you think about TRT from UGL Lab? I use Alpha Pharma, Geneza Pharmaceuticals, and Dragon Pharma.
I think that UGLs oftentimes use toxic carrier oils, and you would be better off with pharmaceutical grade if you're actually on TRT. Obviously, that's easier said than done for some people because it's not the easiest process to get prescribed stuff, especially if it's not medically indicated, like I said. So I don't know, like, what are my thoughts on it? Like in general, it's not as good as pharmaceutical grade, of course. You can't travel with it. You're basically hoping that it's as potent as it says on the label, even though it's underground. They have no like actual dictated rules of what kind of percentages they need to fall within for milligram per milliliter concentrations. Like it could be fucking a 200 milligram per milliliter on the label and it's 80 per milliliter, like for all we know. It could be dirty, like who the fuck knows? So I oftentimes see systemic inflammation caused by toxic carrier oils used by underground labs that are trying to suspend more milligrams per milliliter or just trying to cut corners. And that's not good because long-term will be deleterious to cardiovascular health, a bunch of different things, make you just feel like shit in general. I'm not saying that's always the case. You could easily get an underground lab test that's as good as a pharma grade test, probably. It's just you don't have that guarantee that it's consistent that it's sterile, that it's as potent as it's supposed to be on a consistent basis, and that you're actually medically supposed to be taking it so you can travel with it and whatnot. So, I know a lot of guys that do TRT with underground lab shit. It's just, the obvious limitations that I think you probably know the answer to already are there.
Bam. Alex goes, what's your opinion on the carnivore diet?
I think that some people find success with it. I think that in general, it's pretty myopic, but I think that people who have like autoimmune issues, some of them for some reason can't seem to tolerate anything but a steak. Like you guys have had Michaela Peterson on. She can't eat shit without having, a brutal flare up of like depression, all these like, inflammatory side effects. She had like a hip replacement, I think at 18 years old or something. She was on Adderall and sleeping 18 hours a day. And then she switched to a carnivore diet and now she can function at a high level. So do you tell her that, no, you're doing it wrong and you should be eating this like vegetables and stuff? Obviously her body is unique and can't tolerate certain shit. So for her, maybe it's the best move. But for some individuals who want to have a balanced diet, maybe it's not the best move. There are some like rare cases of individuals who are like allergic to red meat. Obviously, they can't do a carnivore diet. So it's all individual dependent. I think unique outlier individuals seem to benefit quite highly from it, but I don't think it's something that can just broad spectrum be said to be the most optimal thing for most people. Like it seems to be. It's highly unlikely that that's the case.
You want to have a balanced diet if you can, but if you can't, then, obviously you're going to be an anomaly. But in general, like, I mean, the best diet is the one that you can adhere to is really what it comes down to. So Berserker Mode goes here, and this is the last one here. Big up yourself, FNF. Money Mondays are the boom. Just because of you guys, my credit up to 700 assets. Here we come.
Sheesh.
Chris B, too funny with them 304s on a late night show. Keep dropping gems, Myron Fresh, and Mo. Keep it up. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Right. And then, speaking of carnivore diet, have you heard of they had on the Logan Paul podcast, they had that guy Liver King on, and I think you did a breakdown on him. Well, what are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, he is an interesting character for sure. He actually, I don't know if I'm going to be doing a podcast with him because he asked me to do it. He literally made a comment saying, when is Joe Rogan or Derek going to have me on a podcast? And I was like, let's do it. And this was like in January.
That'd be a good club.
And then we've been trying to schedule it. And I guess, I don't know, maybe it's not as I would be trying to do it in person, but obviously me in Canada, him in Texas, it's kind of, problematic scheduling sometimes. And he's also very busy too, as am I. So I'm waiting to hear back on dates that might work for him. And then if it works, like I'll probably time it with a trip to Idaho because I do a couple business trips for Gorilla Mind.
Got to stop in Miami too, bro.
Yeah. Miami's on like the opposite side of the country though, right?
From Idaho, yeah, it is.
Okay. So that was always my thing when I was thinking of, am I going to be in Miami? I always thought it was going to be a totally separate trip, like way out of the way. So I was always trying to plan that I was on that coast to make it happen in person. But yeah, the Liver King thing, I don't know if it's going to happen, but in general, he is, I don't know. He follows a carnivore diet mostly.
Like he eats the meat raw, bro. I like saw some of it. Like he puts like honey on it and he just eats the meat raw with blood and everything on it. I was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, I think a lot of the stuff he does is for shock value, but I do think he does a lot of the stuff he shows on camera too. And he is, like I speculate a fake natural for sure. And I think he plays into that pretty hard. It's interesting how he's gone so aggressive into the claiming natural thing, like on Impulsive. He says, because
he does claim natural, right? Yeah.
Like he's like, would my legs be this small if I was on gear? Like, I don't know. That was a big stretch in my opinion. Like I guess self deprecation or whatever the word is, like talking poorly about yourself is a way to kind of defer. Why would my legs be so small if I was on gear? It's like, it's not uncommon. The guy is pretty, like his upper body's just massive compared to his legs, presumably. Yeah. So anyways, the guy is a interesting character, and I don't know.
I just don't know how he eats that meat without getting sick. I'm just like, bro, what the hell? Like, what the fuck?
What about worms and shit?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess he's probably built up just the immunity to be able to do it, man. Like,
I think if you have high quality meat that's not, sourced from places that you're aware of, like, what goes on, what goes into it and whatnot, I think the likelihood is over exaggerated of getting sick from it, but it's not like I recommend it necessarily.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's craziness. Okay. So and the last part here real quick, entrepreneurship, So tell us about your Gorilla Mind, Gorilla Mind. How'd you start that business?
Chris, good looking loser, asked me if I could formulate a nootropic formula. And he kind of knew of my expertise of supplementation from my posts on his forum and whatnot. And he kind of trusted that I knew what I was talking about. Felt like we would have good alignment on, I don't know, I'm one of the OGs of his forum, I guess. So he trusts me and he thought we would work well together. I made the first iteration of Gorilla Mind Rush back in 2016 or something. I think we launched in 2017. And from there, it kind of transitioned to, I had a sleep formula come out, and then I had a pre-workout come out, and then it sort of just took off from there as I started to pick up traction on social media. I had a lot of individuals that I knew, was friends with, talked to, who were looking for supplement sponsors. We started to build out our team, and then a lot of those guys, including me, started to blow up too, and it just really took off extremely aggressively.
Yeah, and I want to say this too, man. Kudos to you, bro, because the supplement game is fucking tough, man. It's one of the hardest businesses to have a profitable margin in, because it's expensive to make the products and ship it and everything else like that, man. So what would you say is the hardest part about running a supplement business?
Escalating supply chain costs for sure. After COVID happened, the prices of stuff that people thought were cheap, people often think oh, creatine is this cheap supplement. The price of creatine is 10 times what it was 2 years ago.
Really?
For us to make Gorilla Mode, for example, it costs more now when we're manufacturing hundreds of thousands of units than it did when I made 2,500 when I first started it. The supply chain is brutal lately. So I would say,
are you feeling the effects from the Ukraine invasion?
Yeah, I think there's a cascading effect of a lot of different areas right now. And it's been getting worse for a year and a half. So everything's more expensive. And obviously your money is worth less too as inflation happens. So people don't, would not respond well to prices increasing too. So you can imagine when it costs us twice as much to make something, but then charging more, people can afford less stuff too. Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword that just fucks you over essentially. So, being mindful of that, and a lot of products like protein, for example, we literally were taking a loss on when we were selling each tub. There are certain products that it's really hard to not only set yourself apart from a brand, just as a brand in general, as well as product efficacy and whatnot. But in addition, supply chain and being mindful of margin. It's not just about if you can move products. It's also if you're a profitable business still. So, yeah. And of course, as athletes start to do better, people want to get paid more, this and that. It's just escalating burdensome costs kind of accumulate. And the barrier for entry is I guess it's not that high to enter, because there are a lot of random influencers who come out with their own pre-workout now. But I think building a big company, it's becoming harder and harder, because the amount of capital you need to deploy to grow faster, it's way more prohibitive than it used to be. Mm-hmm. And as far as, I don't know, the biggest challenges I see are a lot of people have access to the same kind of information you do if you're putting it out. So even with our pre-workout, for example, a lot of people have really copied our business model now and seen how well it did. So back before I came out with Gorilla Mode, there was a certain potency of product that would only come out and people were fine with it because that's what they were used to. And then I started to come out with these videos explaining why I would want to see this, and this in a product. And I've seen a lot of companies come out since then and basically create their Gorilla Mode essentially. Damn. There you go. So separating yourself becomes harder and harder over the years. But as long as you're one step ahead, it's, there's always ways to do it. And even if you have high quality information, just educating people about what they're putting in their body, I think they find valuable enough to really resonate with your stuff and trust you. So building trust factor through transparency, I think, is a huge challenge too. Because a lot of supplement companies, their shtick has always been hyping up shit and marketing it and being almost misleading in the way they do it. Yeah. But once you've gotten rid of that trust factor, you're fucked. No one trusts you again. So for us, I think that's been a critical component that has differentiated us, is people trust our recommendations, because I literally put out 2-hour breakdowns on our stuff. And I explained all of the details of what justified my decisions for this, put out all the supporting clinical literature, this and that. And I don't know, it's definitely hard though to set yourself apart. Like I would not necessarily recommend it as an industry to like try and get into.
Yeah, no, it's everyone that I know I only have a few guys that I know that are successful with supplements, and you're definitely one of them. And it's just a tough market. A lot of guys say, dude, the margins aren't worth it. It's very difficult. And I mean, I didn't even think about it until you just mentioned it now, supply chain, Yeah. And you feel it. If the food industry is feeling it, then of course the supplement industry is going to feel it as well. So that would make sense. And then do you run any other businesses or operations as well besides Gorilla Mind?
Yeah, so my other main company is Merrick Health. I have some angel investments and stuff, but they're not really worth mentioning because I'm pretty disconnected with them. But the companies I have like my main oversight of can't even fucking talk, oversight of Gorilla Mind and Merrick Health. And Merrick Health is my telemedicine platform that has a bunch of doctors and providers working under it that provide high quality medical oversight for people who want to get their blood work done, get it interpreted, have recommendations made to optimize their biomarkers in their blood work, as well as quality of life, mental clarity, overall vitality, health, etc. And that can include hormone optimization in some individuals, but it's not a guarantee. And that's something that I think also differentiates us from a lot of companies in like the HRT clinic spaces. They essentially exist as like legal testosterone mills. They sort of exist to pump out prescriptions of get in the door, get a testosterone test done. And if it shows that you're at 250 one time, instead of giving you recommendations from a lifestyle perspective, diet manipulation perspective, sleep hygiene perspective, here's your prescription of fucking test, anastrozole, HCG, and get out the door and, refill it on a monthly or, every 3-month basis or whatever it is. And they make the money on the medications and just pushing shit out at scale, which works for them and makes money. And a lot of guys are on board with it because, they're getting fucking legal gear and it's prescribed. But what we pride ourselves on and how we differentiate ourselves is we actually stay up to date on all of the current literature of endocrinology, pharmacology, biology, and we educate patients on go through their lab work and identify shortcomings and imbalances and whatnot, provide recommendations from a supplementation perspective, perhaps a medications perspective if warranted, but ultimately it's like a full spectrum optimization clinic of sorts where you get a high quality doctor in your camp who is looking out for your best interest to optimize not just performance, but like vitality, actual health metrics. Because a lot of these clinics are like the antithesis of health. If you're just putting guys on like test, DECA, fucking GH, whatever it is, like that's not anti-aging. That's just like getting you on gear.
Yeah, no facts. And real quick, we got our boy Brandon Carter in the fucking house with $500 super chat, man. Shout out to Brandon Carter, man. One of my mentors when I got into the game early, man. Thank you so much, Brandon.
AKA BBC.
He's back. I guess he's back on YouTube.
Big Brandon Carter in the building.
Guys, go subscribe to his YouTube channel, Brandon Carter, man. That's our guy right there.
Solid dude, man.
Yeah, we bring him at least once a month and we talk about entrepreneurship and making money and all this other stuff.
Yep.
Which is like, help you stop being fucking poor, baby.
Get your money up, nigga.
Yeah, for real. Facts. And then we got Daniel Rivera. He goes $50. Check out Ken Berry. He breaks down carnivore and could be a good health episode.
And special mention, shout out to Dorkhead in chat. Sorry,
yeah, shout out to Dorkhead as well. So yeah, man, you got a bunch of entrepreneurial ventures. Are you going to step on stage?
No, definitely not. That would be like the most counterproductive thing I could do right now. In my
opinion. Yeah, no, of course. I don't think people understand what goes into prep and stepping on stage, man. It's fucking, it's a nightmare, man. You're gonna have to dedicate 3 to 6 months of your life to prep, and it's tough. And everything is focused around prep. And yeah, I mean that'd be difficult with running what 2-3 businesses and obviously YouTube channel and.
Sacrificing any level of mental clarity, focus, productivity is not something I'm willing to do right now.
Yeah, no, totally understandable, man. So Derek, where can the people find you, bro? By the way, guys, there's 3,200 of you guys in here right now.
Like the video.
Like the fucking video, man, because you guys just got a clinic when it comes to, gear, right? We're not advocating it, but at least you're educated on it now, right? So you can make a better decision. Talking about girls, old pickup stuff, the red pill. Guys, this was a fucking awesome interview. This is where people find you, man, and all his links are below as well, guys. But
high IQ individual here.
Yes, very high IQ individual.
Thanks. So moreplatesmoredates.com is my blog. I don't really write articles anymore, but that is my main website. But mainly for social media, YouTube, More Plates More Dates, Instagram, More Plates More Dates, TikTok, I think I'm More Plates, Twitter, Facebook, etc. But yeah, basically just type in More Plates, More Dates, you'll find me.
Boom.
And guys, we are affiliates with Gorilla Mind, so go check them out. I got the link below if you guys want to go ahead and get a discount. I think it's the code is fresh, if I'm not mistaken. But go check it out, man. Get the stuff. It's great quality stuff, man. You guys seen me posted on my Instagram before with the pre-workout, especially. Good stuff.
Get a fresh discount to stay fresh in the gym. Sorry, fit in the gym. Fit. I meant to say fit.
King of corny jokes, bro. But yeah, man, guys, he's Derek for More Plates, More Dates, guys. Go check him out, man. Great content, and we'll have him back here in Miami when he's stateside. When you come, bro, we'll bring you out here, man. After you're done with Chris in Idaho, we'll bring you out here to Miami and get you back over to Canada, man. Because the people have been asking for it forever. I think they'd love to have you on a panel with some chicks.
Don't call out, man.
Yeah, right on. Let's make it happen.
But all right, guys, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. We're gonna have a call-in show and then some girls. Yeah. So we'll catch you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Man. Derek, thank you so much for coming on the show, my man. We'll catch you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Peace.
Peace.